All right, so we are live. Thanks everybody for joining BoostRodeo live this week. This is our second season, and we are so stoked to have Motor Trend's Faye Hadley, owner of Pistons and Pixie Dust, co-founder of Women in Machine, and man, you're just doing so much stuff.
Yeah, I do a lot of stuff. Oh, you also forgot Chicken Farmer. It's
Chicken
probably
Farmer.
my most important.
That's probably the top one.
Yeah, I'd say.
Yeah. So, and then one thing that a lot of people, this actually shocked Josh, Harvard graduate with psychology degree. Most people don't know that about you.
Yeah, I kept it a secret for a really long time. And by secret, I guess I didn't purposefully withhold information, but I definitely purposefully didn't tell anyone about that for a really long time. Because for a while it actually prevented me from getting jobs. When I was trying to get a job as a mechanic, actually just as recently as 4 years ago, before I started my business, and I was trying to work at a local shop that specialized in actually a few, not only Toyota dealerships. I applied to every single Toyota dealership in the San Antonio area and a couple independent shops. And I did not get hired at any of them, which is what led me to start my business. But a main reason I was told by two of them was you don't actually want to be a mechanic. You've got, you're overqualified. What's this just fun for you? This isn't a long-term thing for you. I realized it was more detrimental than people thought I was snobby, or I was going to look down on them, or I didn't belong in this space. So
you know what you get with that is you get this stigma that you're overqualified, or you're just in it as a hobby, and you'll be over it in a couple months, and then they'll lose you after they train you. It's very difficult.
Oh gosh, definitely. And it actually wasn't until my co-host in All Girls Garage, she actually has a really prestigious degree as well. And she was the one that sort of pushed me to no, be proud of that, own who you are. And that's kind of helped me start talking about it. But actually I wouldn't have recently until other people started sort of making it a deal. And I'm you know what, I'm sure there's many people out there like me that could, I don't know, can relate to my story, especially as women. A lot of us, this is not our first career, not necessarily because it's not our first choice, but you have to overcome some humps, let's say, in order to get to a career in the automotive industry. So sometimes we go through several lives before we get there. So I'm you know what, maybe I will start talking about it. But yeah, I'm still a little, I don't know, it's still a little to talk about,
I think it's good because it's one of those things that no one would guess looking at you or watching you or seeing the things you're doing. It's just so far away from everything that you're living that it makes it really cool. It's a part of who you are. And people are what? She went to Harvard. That's the most prestigious, well-known school in the country. And she graduated from there? What? They just would not expect that. So it's super cool.
Oh, thanks, Ryan. It's funny. I think I actually, a lot of people ask me if I feel I've wasted those 4 years. Actually, it was 6 years it took me to graduate to college of my life, and all that money. And I actually don't. I don't think so. What I explain to people is that I use it all the time. I use my degree in terms of how I relate to people when I'm explaining to them big repairs on their car. I can sort of meet them on the level by figuring out what sort of things they're queuing into. And then also for dealing with myself when I come to adversity, or when I have a difficult problem to solve, or if I'm getting too much in my own head, I'll sort of use the things that I learned from my psychology degree to sort of bring myself down, bring myself into the moment, rationalize with myself, get out of my mental space. So I actually don't feel it was a waste at all. And then, also mechanics never came easy to me at all. I always did well in school. I'm not a great test taker, but I always did well in school. I felt I could follow a curriculum and, get an A. That was, I could do it. Mechanics, not at all. So when I first started out in mechanics, I really struggled. And I still struggle. So I sort of fell back on that as that little reminder in the back of my head, no one can tell me that I'm stupid. I might be new at this, and this might be hard for me, but I'm not dumb. So at least I can hold on to that. So it's actually been pretty helpful.
You know what's really cool about that is it's been probably a couple months before Thanksgiving anyways. I did a talk, and it was quite a few young people in the room. And college isn't for everyone, but if you go to college, you don't have to follow that path, but you learn adversity, you learn hard work, you learn the late nights and how to push through. And that's more valuable in a lot of cases than the degree itself. So you kind of found who you were after you went down this path, but still use it to your advantage. That's rad.
Oh,
Yeah,
definitely.
that last part about being able to kind of like psychoanalyze yourself and figure out, okay, when I'm freaking out, what I need to calm down and here's why I'm doing it. That's honestly incredibly valuable, because anybody who's done this and like put yourself out there on YouTube and stuff, it stresses you out. Like people don't realize till they do it how wrapped up you get into overthinking things. You're like, I've spent hundreds of hours on this thing and it's not taking off. Like, why are people not doing it? Like, why are people not watching? They're not finding it. It's not working. What am I doing wrong? And like, you get in your own head, or you get those negative comments. And I'm one of those people, I'm really good at brushing. Like, I love dealing with the haters most of the time, just because it's almost fun. Like, I actually don't mind that part. I kind of like it. But sometimes you get that one comment that just gets to you. Like, people are really good at that. So that skill, like, is incredibly valuable. I never would have thought of that.
Oh my God, absolutely. I mean, at first I actually didn't have comments turned on at any of my videos, my YouTube videos, because I used to be very sensitive. And I would like cry for like a whole week over like a negative comment. And then I got to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm only gonna read the comments when I'm at the gym. And then I'm gonna be super mad and super pissed off, and I'm gonna lift this heavier, and I'm gonna like work out even harder on the exercise bike, and like, oh, I'm gonna use it as strength. And then I'm like, wait a second, like I'm approaching this the wrong way over here, getting emotional, and the wrong way over here, getting angry. Like, you got to sort of see it from the perspective of like the person that's leaving the negative comment. A lot of times I'll engage with those people, I'll see where they're coming from, and like a lot of times I've been able to like turn them around. And actually, like, some of my most positive comments and like my most loyal followers now started out as like epic haters. I actually have a lot of positive comments on my Facebook page for my business and my Google business from people like that have ended up helping, because a lot of the times like they'll leave me a negative comment because they'll be frustrated in the repair themselves. They would have just spent thousands of dollars at the dealership getting that repair done, and then here I am like showing them like how they can do it for like $50 or whatever the case may be. But it's like, what does it take for someone to leave a negative comment? Like, think about the person in that space. Like, if you were to watch a video and you didn't like it, would you waste your time, first of all, watching it? Right. Second of all, like seeking them out, like taking time out of your day to write a negative comment. And then I've actually gotten like hate letters. It's like, whoa.
How much time?
Handwritten. I got one that was like old-fashioned typewriter written. No joke. Like, someone took time out of their day to find my PO box, to whip out their typewriter, to like write me a letter. Like, whoa, I really triggered that person.
That's almost like, flattering at that point, like, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you worked really hard to get in that person's head, and like,
I know, living rent free in their head. I guess I've heard someone say before. I was like, that's funny, but it's kind of true. It's like, that says a lot more about them than it does about me.
I love how you flip some of that stuff. Like, you had one on your story today that someone said, "Oh, it's so easy, a chick could do it." I was dying. Ryan and I. You may not know this. I have 3 daughters and a son. Ryan has 2 daughters and a son. So we're like caged into this girl's world, right? So it's so rad to see that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I've gotten a lot of really funny comments like that. And, it's like that, like, I like to sort of use it as a joke, like, hey, I can do it. Like, anyone can do it. But it's kind of true. Like, I started my mechanicking journey, like, super late in life. Like, my mom would tell you, I came out of the womb loving cars and things with wheels. Always wanted to drive, always talked about getting my first car. I collected Hot Wheels. Actually, I collected Volkswagens. I loved the Beatles and buses. Like, that's
nice.
My like second grade, or like my 2-year-old like birthday cake had like construction equipment on it. Like, I just loved things with wheels. But it was like sort of discouraged, not by my mom, but actually like by my dad. It's like I stayed away from that career path, and I didn't actually hold my first wrench until 2007. So there was like a massive learning curve that happened, and I have like failed so much. Sometimes I think back and I'm like, man, like, what if I had parents that worked in the industry, or like, had someone had taken me seriously like early on, and I was able to take auto shop in high school and I was able to start when I was like a teen, how much further along I'd be now. But like, I don't know, at the same time, it's like, nah, like I had someone ask me recently in a YouTube live on my channel, like, you know, is it too late to start? Like, I'm 30, is it too late to start? And I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, like, no, it's never,
Absolutely
it's never
not.
too late. It's never too late. I graduated college in 2010, and then I apprenticed for 2 years. And that was like my tech school, sort of like a late night apprenticeship after I stopped my therapist job. And it's like, man, so like really I've been like professionally wrenching like for pay for 7 years, which is not that much if you think about it, you know? And it's like, so when I say like, hey, if I can do it, so can you. Like, I really mean it. Like,
Yeah. People always ask that. And it's like the time to start anything you want to do. The only time that's worse than right now is a year from now, because you put it off again because you talked yourself out of it. Like
100%. Yeah.
I kind of went down that same path. I wanted to do car stuff. And, you know, my parents were always super supportive. My dad's a gearhead and all that. But they were like, go get a job where you don't have to get dirty every day and you don't have to work long hours and be stuck in, like, they were very adamant in that old school. You need to go to college. You need to do this. And I always wanted to do either cars or something really creative. Like, it was either going to be music or something like this or cars. And they kind of made me get a sensible job or really push me towards that. And I listened, but now I'm going back to it and I'm getting started later. And I've talked myself out of a YouTube channel so many times. And I'm like, if I would have just done this when I wanted to in high school, I'd be so much farther ahead. And then if I would have done it in college when I really wanted to, I would be so far ahead. And now I'm finally just doing it, and it, you know,
and killing it, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I look back at some of your videos, Ryan. Like, I think I made my first YouTube video in like 2013 or 14, maybe, and it was terrible. But I was like, you know, I've got to start. Oh, have you ever looked back at your old ones and been like, ugh. I can't take it down now though. Like, I'm committed. But but I talked myself out of it so many times. And man, I'm so glad that I'm doing it now. But I don't know, I also kind of believe in like divine timing, like things sort of happen when they're supposed to. And you know, like I'm looking at the things that I knew then, and like I'm very glad that I'm making the videos that I am now, and I'm very glad that I'm in the space I am now, and not 10 years ago at that level of maturity, Faye, because that probably would have embarrassed myself quite a bit. So you never know.
It's so funny. I remember Ryan does all the editing and he's the master behind the camera. And when we put the first one out, we were so pumped. And we look back at it now and we're like, did we put that out? And
we really
I have a hard time saying that because I didn't put anything into it. I'm just a face and a wheelman, you know? It's like, it's too funny.
So yeah, I think my first video was like the battery location on like a smart car. And it was filmed with my first smartphone ever, which was like a super old iPhone. Like, the quality is really grainy, and I don't know what I'm talking about. Like, oh, the battery's here. Like, pull back this thing, the battery's there. I don't know, like, and I don't know how to, like, I haven't mastered the art of like camera angles yet. So I'm like doing it from down below, and I have like 4 chins. You know, I'm like, this is great. But it's fine. I've gotten better. But yeah, Ryan, you're editing. Like, I'm looking forward to being on that level. Earlier, before we started the stream, we were talking about how long it takes both of us to edit videos, and I'm still not at your level with editing time. I edit at about 1 hour of editing for like a minute of video footage.
I remember when that was our goal.
Yeah,
was to get to that point. Seriously,
it took me a while to get down to a minute per hour.
Yeah,
like an hour of editing to get to 1 minute of final video. So like a 10-minute video was at least 10 hours of editing. I wanted to get there because it was taking me longer than that. And
yes,
some of them still take way longer. Yeah, I've had 3-minute videos that I've spent 50, 60 hours on.
Same. My most recent video that is out on Monday took me several weeks. And then my coolant flush video, I've been recording clips for that for 2 years.
I remember you saying that. That's crazy.
That's why my nail polish changes like 5 times in the video, because it's like several years in the making. So yeah, so you gotta be dedicated to the lifestyle, y'all.
Yeah, right. So let's see. Most people probably know you the best from All Girls Garage because it's kind of the thing you've been doing for a while. Are you guys on season 3 now? Is that the third
So,
season you're doing?
I'm about to be on my 3rd season, but it's
That's what I
actually going into its 10th year.
Yeah, I knew it'd been on a long time because it started on Discovery, right? Way back.
No,
Or did it start before that, even before they picked it up?
I think, okay. So actually, I recently looked up the history of this because it like sort of brought back to Smokey Eunuch, who's been like the subject of book club that I do with my friend Danny on my YouTube channel, Automotive Book Club. But actually, it was originally on Velocity, and Brenton Productions stemmed from like one of the first original wrenching. I don't know if you'd call it like reality TV, but a Shade Tree Mechanic sort of like stemmed from that. So it's got like super deep roots. But yeah, it's been on for like a super long time. I'm still the awkward new one though.
Right. And then you recently did the Holiday Hooptie Challenge, which was amazing. Josh just got done watching it and was like, dude, why did you not make me watch this sooner? Because I told him you need to go watch it. It's out. And he was like, I know I need to. I just need time. And
I actually recorded the Christmas Eve version on Motor Trend and watched it on Christmas.
Yeah! Oh my God, I'm so honored. That was so fun. Did anyone have any like specific questions about that in the little question thingy, or should
I don't think we got any about the Hooptie Challenge, actually. So if anybody's watching and you have a question in the comments about this while we're talking about it, now's the time. But I guess how many days did you guys film that for? That's one of my questions. Like, how many days was it over?
So it was actually only 2 days.
Okay.
And I mean, there's regulations about like how long you can actually like, work on a set. I'm assuming actually, I don't know for sure. I'm assuming. So the first day, I don't know. The first day was the day portion, and then the second day was the night portion.
Okay.
And I will say that the most common question that I get about the Holiday Hooptie Challenge is, did I get to keep the Supra? I did not get to keep the Supra yet, but I am actively trying to purchase it as we speak. Like every single week since I have left, I've been constantly texting the producer and like bothering him, be like, hey, just so you know, that offer I put in for the Supra is still valid. It was painful because as you know, I mean, I've got my Supra behind me right now. That car was in such better shape than mine, and like I worship the ground that my Supra drives on. There it is. It's a work in progress. But yeah, it was like, I mean, everything about that car was perfect. Before I drove it, 149,000 original miles, manual transmission. It was a factory hardtop. It was teal, factory wingless. It's like in 86. And
it was in 86. I actually didn't even know they made that color in 86. And I'm like pride myself on knowing a lot of the colors and the years and the counts and stuff and what's rare. And I actually didn't even remember, like, knew they made that in 86. I saw it and was like confused when we were watching. My wife's like, why do you keep staring at the car like that? And I'm like, it's in 86. I don't think they made that color in 86. Never seen it.
Yeah. And like, not only that, but like everything still worked on it.
I know. I was cringing because I could tell how clean it was at the start. So just being a super guy, I'm just sitting there like this, like watching it next to my wife. And she's like, you're kind of freaking out right now. And I'm like, this poor car, like, don't. And then you lost it right away. Somebody else, you had to switch cars. And I'm like, no, like, they're not going to care about this thing.
No. And on the first day, so, all right. So back up a little bit. When you were first asking me about All Girls Garage, I didn't really have I never actually watched any of the Motor Trend shows at all, or even knew that my show existed before I was really asked to try out for it. And I've never had TV, so I've never watched any of these shows. So like all these people are still sort of new to me. So when I was originally asked to be a part of it, it was like I wasn't supposed to know anything about it, so no information was given. And then like a week before, I got an email with the list of people that were going to be in it with me, and I'm like, okay, like. There's only one name that I recognize on that list, which is Freiberger. And then the rest of them, I'm like, oh, shoot, who are these people? So I start Googling them. And I realized that, like, they're all, like, Motor Trend's, like, top people. I was like, oh, hey,
welcome to the club.
Yeah, like, why did you invite me? Is that what you're thinking? Like
100%. 100%. I'm like, there's, like, why am I being invited to this? I was like, oh, I know, I'm the token female. I was like, all right, they didn't have anyone else to volunteer for this weird thing. I mean, that's what I assumed. I did not know what I was getting into. And I'm just like, I don't belong. I'm being hired for this to like fill the card. I'm great. Affirmative action or whatever. And I'm just like, you know, they're probably gonna feel like I don't belong. They know I don't, like I'm on one of the minor shows. They're like all the major people. So I was super freaking intimidated. So they find me out there, and I get there, and they of course don't tell me anything about it. They just say that, all right, we're going to do a holiday special for Motor Trend, and you know, you're lucky enough to be a part of it. I'm like, I am lucky enough to be a part of it. This is great. I had no idea what to do, so all I did was pack a whole bunch of tools. It's like, what would I need if anything broke down in the middle of the desert? So I packed a bunch of tools and like didn't think about anything reasonable, like chapstick, for example. And oh my God, my face got so sunburned and my lips just got destroyed. Anyway, so I get there and I'm trying to like, you know, impress all the people and just like sort of fit in as best as I can. And I'm carpooling with Eric Malone of Fastest Cars in the Dirty South, and he's intimidating. So I'm like, you know, I'm trying to play it cool. Like, you know, we're getting driven in this, you know, massive SUV for like an hour and a half to like the middle of nowhere. I lose cell service and we show up at this like abandoned wasteland. And I'm like trying to impress him, telling him stories about our childhood, like trying to play it cool. And then we pull up and we pass by the Supra, and I see it, and I just start bawling like a baby. I'm like, here's this guy that I just barely met. And I'm like, no, play it cool, man, play it cool. And I see them just like, oh my God, this is Supra. And you know what, like that, but as soon as I saw that, I'm like, no, I belong here, because someone took the time out of their day, and it ended up being Freiburger. I'm just like, oh my God, to research me,
to figure out what would be your
what
ride.
I liked. Find something, because all the other cars were from other shows. You know, that car was not. It was new to fleet, if you saw it. So it's like someone took time. But
Freiburger selected that for you. You didn't select it or have input on it.
Nope.
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
Yeah. And not only that, but I had just had one of my girlfriends do my hair teal, and I show up and I'm like, and it matches my hair.
No way.
Like so
What are the chances?
But yeah, I start crying. And then that was like, before that's, I only met one person. Then I get out in front of everybody, and I'm just like, I'd already done my makeup, and like I already had makeup just like going down my face, because didn't pack waterproof makeup for the desert. Why would I do that? So I'm just like, you know, I'm like, oh God. And then Tony, who I didn't know this, but I actually used to like super fangirl over Tony back in the day, because he used to be a pro Formula drift driver and like race the Scions. And I used to watch him in person. I didn't know it was the same person. I didn't know.
Wow.
So weird. Like I have pictures of him in the pits like from years ago. Weird. Anyway, then he was like, what is a Supra doing here? And he's like, my goal is to destroy that Supra. And I'm like, no! So he was very competitive.
So
he was
terrible.
like the most competitive person there. So I'm like, oh my God, my only goal for this entire thing is to protect the Supra as best as I can, keep away from Tony, and try to like steal some parts off of it. It had like switches and buttons that have long been broken on mine. Every single one of the buttons on the AC control module or the head unit worked. Like, you know, like after a while you press them and like it just doesn't all of them.
Yeah.
No cracks in the factory fog lights. I was like, oh, I need this car. Yeah, and then Dulcich Rod knocked it, as you could tell from it. So, but I was like, you know what? That's fine. That's fine. I've got like 4 7Ms here, so I know I've got a good block, and that, you know, maybe they'll take a lower offer for it if it's, you know. So
it was funny. It was like the second event where it started knocking. I think it was pretty early, and I'm just like, I'm sitting in bed and I'm like, to my wife, I'm like commentary on the whole thing, of course, and she's just having to listen to me, and I'm just like, oh. No one told him to fill it a quart over full on the dipstick.
Nope.
Super tricks.
Nope. Yeah. And of course, like the first thing that I do, and no, I mean, there's no oil there. Like there's nothing. No oil, there's no coolant, nothing extra. Of course, I got all these tools, but like I wasn't like, I was like, maybe I'm not bringing the engine oil with me. I should have. In hindsight, in hindsight, but I did not.
Well,
So,
Freiberger just wanted all the cars to die. So
Yeah.
I think they all did. But surprisingly, like they all did pretty good. Like I actually think that I think that we could have popped I think we could have popped the tire back on the love truck and still raced it, but they didn't like that idea. So
that thing was insane on the dirt, by the way. Oh my gosh.
it was scary to drive. Like I think in the episode I mentioned that I was like, it was too much truck for me. Like it was way too much truck for the dirt. It was so fun and like scary to drive. Yeah, bad situation for that truck, but yeah.
Of course, we have all the save the 7M comments coming through right now.
Yes. Oh, excellent. I love you guys. Yeah.
Did we get any questions in the comments while we're on it?
Yeah, there's a couple. There was one about you should try my 440 Magnum. It's plum purple. You would love it. Matches your hair. The bigger one, relevant to the show, is there a link, and where do they find the link to rewatch it?
Okay, so it is on the Motor Trend app. So that's the only place that you can watch it. Like that's still, if you have like the Motor Trend channel and you didn't happen to like record it, I think it was just sort of playing during the holidays. I'm not 100% sure on that, but you can always you can subscribe to the Motor Trend app for like $2 a month, or you can like subscribe for 3 days and cancel it just to like watch it, So
yeah, the app is
I think you can also buy some of the episodes on YouTube for like a couple dollars. At least that's how I used to watch the All Girls Garage when I was like getting prepared. So
right.
True story.
My favorite comment about the Holiday Hooptie Challenge is tools before chapstick. I can totally relate.
Oh my God. No, I mean, I will say though, like I came back and after my lips peeled for like 2 weeks straight, they turned this really nice shade of red, and I was like, red's my color. I think I'll start wearing red lipstick, but I'm just
so natural.
So I want to switch gears a little bit and go back to one of the very early things that I remember you working on related to, like, I think kind of started some stuff for you, and that was this thing.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my God, the Chevy montage.
Yeah.
Oh, even just seeing that truck just like gives me the feels. Yeah, that was from a totally different time in my life, and it really did catapult me to where I am today. At the time that I started working on that truck, I mean, my YouTube channel was not much. I think I had one video up that was recent about like how to change your engine oil and filter, featuring my Volkswagen. And I was working a job that I absolutely hated, and I hated my life. And that was 3 years ago? A lot can change in 3 years, y'all. Yeah. But yeah, that was a massive escape for me. And I was having a hard time at work. It was pretty monotonous and pretty boring. I worked at Intertech Automotive Research. No hard feelings to Intertech because it was actually a cool job. But I definitely felt like a cog in a machine. I didn't deal with any customers. If I died the next day, like the real customers, like the clients would never know that I existed. Like I just didn't feel like I had any meaning in the world. Even like I was just making a paycheck, and I wasn't feeling like even connected to my pride for working, in the trades, which I feel very strongly about now. And I saw that, and actually a couple of friends of mine had sent me the links to that and be like, you really should do this. You should do this. You'd be perfect for this. And I looked it up, and Bogey had been my idol, like when I first started out my automotive career. Like I remember Googling like female mechanic, and I saw a video of Bogey being interviewed about her shop, and she had dark hair. She loved the color purple. She started her career on a Volkswagen Beetle, and she had a degree from a prestigious university, just like me. I'm like, oh my God, she's me. Like she can do it, so can I. And so I'd always looked up to her. I had posters of her on my wall. And then I saw that she was leading the project. I was like, oh God, no, I'm so not worthy to work with her or around her. I'm like, nope, can't do it. Can't do it. Absolutely cannot do it. And I don't even remember who it was, but someone finally was like, dude, Faye, like you have to do this. Like they really need help. You just volunteer your time. They're trying to build this crazy SEMA project. And actually, Bogey found a sponsor to buy my plane ticket and send me out there. So I finally agreed. And I ended up going out there, I think like 5 times over the course of the year. And I ended up having like a major role in that project. It was crazy because it like sort of put me in check. I went out there feeling like I cannot do this. I'm not worthy. How am I going to be of any help? And then I ended up like, I don't know, doing the hardest job of my life, degreeing the freaking cams on that BMW engine, which
I remember that.
By the way, I will say that took me an entire day, and I went outside to cry like at least 3 times. And I say to me, it wasn't just me. Bogey started it out, and then I just finished it. But like, man, that sucked. But okay. And it talked about
such a crazy truck to stick that BMW V8 in. Like, what?
But it sounded sweet, though. It sounded freaking sweet. But the exhaust, my friend Joni and Brianna built the exhaust. Actually, they weren't the only 2. I think it was a multi-person project. I wasn't there for that part, but I saw it afterwards, and it's like, man, in order to get the exhaust to fit in there, it was very creative. And also, like, there was some creative work to get that all to work out. I mean, Bogey had some lofty goals, considering the fact that it was 90 women that worked on that project.
Wow.
And they're mostly 90 women. You think, oh, you've got all that help. Most of them are newbies that came to learn. So for every person that was out there, like, helping out, I mean, imagine you as a newbie. It's like, yeah, I mean, most of the stuff that they tried to help on, like, they fucked up. Like, I went out there and like I redid I wouldn't say what I redid just in case people are watching. I don't want to offend anybody, but I redid a lot of stuff that other people messed up. And it's like, you can't, of course, when you're trying to put out a build like that is all female built. Like, Bogey had so much resting on her shoulders for that. It's like, and then she was under so much scrutiny and criticism. Like, I would have never wanted to be in her position. I remember like her just posting a picture of like learning a new way to like do zip ties, like just trying to share it and be like, oh, this is so cool. Like, one of the ladies taught me this cool trick. And like the comments about, oh my God, like, you don't know this already? Like, you've been doing this for so long, you don't know this? And like, she cannot post anything that just like shows her learning. And sometimes I worry that like, that might happen to me too. It's like, man, she can't post any of the fails because you don't want to like make anyone look bad. But like, it was a major undertaking. Like, I mean, like, I can't even explain what she went through. I mean, I don't even know the full story about it, but I can't even explain what that truck did for all the women involved.
Oh, massive! Like you said earlier,
down and bankrupted others. Man, it was a crazy project. So I have so much respect for that build, and it changed. It changed me.
You said it best when you said it was divine timing. I mean, it sounded like it was for you. Maybe it wasn't for some of the other gals, but for a lot of them, I'm sure it was, good or bad.
100%. Actually, I'm looking at some of the women in that picture right now, and many of them went off to start their own businesses after that. And Bogey's doing another build right now for a Volvo. And last I talked to her, she's like, "Man, a lot of the key women that I had for the last 2 builds, that motivated them to the next step in their careers." Where now they own their own businesses, they don't have time to just come and work on this anymore. So now I'm bringing in like the next generation, and it's like, whoa, like, all right, you give them wings and like goodbye, and like, all right, well,
it's so easy to get caught up in that, where you don't realize what an impact you're having. You're just stressed about the next job, about the next project, and you're running through it, and you don't realize everything that you left behind and pushed on to the next level. And you get to start all over, and it's kind of a detriment sometimes, but it can be really rewarding.
Yeah.
Oh my God, absolutely. And those days were long. Like, we were talking earlier before the started about how long the days were, like All Girls Garage, and how much time it took us to film one episode. This is totally different. First of all, whenever I went there, like, I slept at the shop. So like, there's bunk beds in the shop. Man, I did not leave the shop. And then it's like, you wake up, well, there's the truck, better start working on it. Ladies are working until like 2-3 a.m. Like, no stops, no food, no, like, you had to be like, hey, You know, has anyone had water today yet? Like, people were just so dedicated to getting it done, and there were some people that couldn't take it, and it burnt them out. There were others that just sort of dropped in and out on their own time, and then there were some that just like, I mean, will never be the same because of it, for the better, and maybe some for the worse. Who knows? But yeah, it's a make it or break it sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, she's doing a third, but she definitely she sold her shop, her auto repair shop, 180. To like dedicate herself 100% to this, because she to her new shop, Girl Gang Garage, because she saw the impact that it was having on people, and she was like, you know, while the repair shop is good, and you know, there's always a need for that, I think there might be a bigger need for this. So that's what she's doing now. So whoa, I couldn't. So
those SEMA builds, like that's the iconic part of SEMA builds, is there's so many of them that are just down to the wire like that, and that's just reality. I mean, 100%. To be honest, like I'm sure every single person in the chat has been there, because that's honestly just part of cars. Is like there's always an event, there's always a race event or a car show or a big road trip you're taking, or Northwest National. We all know Super Nationals every damn year is or
100%.
Yep. Or
I
Civ
almost
every single year.
Supras in Vegas. Yes, I almost. I think we were talking about it earlier. Like I almost rushed this project to get it done for Supras in Vegas, and I could have. I mean, I could have got it running, but man, I'm so glad that I didn't, because there's things I really want to do well that are just going to take a lot of time. So I'm really glad that I didn't. But yeah, I mean, most people don't realize, like, a lot of cars at SEMA don't even run.
Right.
And
yeah, they rolled them in and they look great, but they don't drive them on the trailer.
100%. Yeah. And like thankfully I got to Vegas, I think a day or two early when we were unveiling the montage. But like, yeah, we were like, I was working on that thing in the parking lot, like hours before we were supposed to be dropping it off. Like, it was down to the wire, but you know, it was really, really rewarding. I mean, I look back on Bogey's YouTube channel. She has a really great video that just has like really powerful like piano music behind it that just like hits you in the feels. But it's just like this year-long sort of I don't know, like not time lapse, but like sort of shows like the year in review of just like some of the highlights of building the truck. And like every time I watch it, like it just gives me this feeling in my stomach. It's like, you know, those feelings in your life or those experiences in your life that you're so proud of that like you can never just like no one can take away those experiences from you. And that's one of the, every time I watch that video, I'm just like, whoo.
We've had I'm glad you brought up Supras in Vegas, because we've had a couple questions about that. Everyone wants to know, is our number one, is Faye going? Number two, is Ryan going? Is Supras in Vegas happening this year, Ryan? I know we just talked about it.
We've been talking about this as well. If we're gonna make it, I'm absolutely planning on going in 2021.
Me too.
Yeah,
me too. I do plan on going, and I don't have an excuse now. I've got the A9, so I've got the Mark V. So if I don't get the Mark III done, okay, I mean, of course, like how rewarding would it be for me to just like drive the Mark III there and just like show it off, like
yeah.
But I also just like, I mean, there's a part of it too where I think it'd be cool to do, you know, do the track day with the Mark V, and then like, you know, obviously like see everybody. Like there's so many people that I just really miss and want to connect with. So I definitely have it as a goal of mine to go in 2021, and have been scheduling like my other things around it. And I actually was going to go in 2020. I was going to go last year. Even if my car didn't make it, I'm just like, you know, I'm just going to go. But you know, it was at the same time, Holiday Hooptie Challenge, and I decided to do that instead because that paid me, and Supras in Vegas would have been very expensive for not being able to bring my Supra. So I was like, you know, I'll just do that instead. But yeah, I do plan on.
I'm still trying to figure out Vegas trips, because I just got invited to head down for the Men 400, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. I haven't even talked to my wife, so I'm like, so 2 Vegas trips. I don't know if I'm going to squeeze that.
Yeah,
bit of a ride. No fly.
It's also pretty meaningful for me to go in 2021, because for those who know, I got married in Vegas during Supras in Vegas. And after my husband and I said our I do's, I totally walked through all of the Supras in my heels, gave myself like epic blisters, and like, you know, almost like killed both of my feet over it. So like 2021 will be our five years of marriage. So I'm just like, we should just like totally go and celebrate. and sort of like relive it. Like, I don't know, five is like kind of a I don't know.
It's a big one. It's enough of an excuse that you got to go. Like, you can't not.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling it. I mean, it's the longest relationship I've ever had. I mean, it's been like last one before that was like a year. So I'm like, I mean, I've hung out with you for this long. We might as well celebrate it.
That's awesome. Well, congrats in advance on 5 years.
Yeah.
Thanks.
We have a couple of questions too about the manifold over your left shoulder.
Oh, that's for Danny. Danny's asking about the manifold.
Oh, wait a second. Danny, my Danny?
Yeah, you're Danny.
Oh my God.
He's your Danny now. Sorry, Danny.
He's foreshadowing. So actually, I was planning on building an epic manifold out of my old runners, my stock runners, and then using some pieces of cut aluminum that a friend dropped off, and then actually my factory 3000 pipe, because I'm not ready to give that up. And then Danny was like, Faye, or you can buy the super cheap one off of eBay. So I got the super cheap one, Jay-Z one off of eBay. And this one, we actually have some epic plans to modify, and I've got a YouTube video that I'm planning about making a custom forward-facing intake manifold for the 7M, the cheap way. Danny, actually, I mean, we sort of started off this whole discussion talking about school, and we go into a very expensive school that taught me nothing about automotive repair, and making that choice. And I almost made the choice to go to automotive school, automotive college, after I decided that was the path that I want to take. I did go to like a local community college and took a couple of classes that I felt like I just couldn't get with mentorship, but really everything that I know about automotive repair, I can really credit to the people in my life who've been like my mentors, and have like really, I don't know, taken me under their wing, and like, for lack of a better term, like a true apprenticeship, almost like they don't exist anymore. So I've been super fortunate to find Danny, and he's been sort of schooling me in the art of automotive machining, and holy moly, I've learned so much. So he was actually teaching me about like airflow recently and velocity stacks, and he's been doing a bunch of research on what will be best for the 7M. And so I'm really excited to make that into a video with him and share it with everyone when this project is finally done. I'm really stoked on this. And he used to make fun of my, I had this throttle body, the factory throttle body for the 7M. I was very proud to bring to the shop and start fabbing up my, my whole plan of the forward-facing intake manifold. And he looks at my throttle body and he starts laughing at me. He's like, "Oh, what is that Fisher Price my first throttle body?" And I was like,
"Yeah, the little like 62 millimeter stock throttle body."
So I got this one.
Is that a 90?
Yeah, this whole thing was like, wrong side. But like this whole everything here, and like I got a bunch of fittings. I mean, this intake manifold is super freaking ugly. Like I would never put this. It's actually for a 1JC. I would never buy this and build this to a car. Oh my god, no! Look at this thing; it's hideous. But by the time that I'm done with it, it'll be amazing. So
nice.
a lot of people. I mean, it's but all of this was like actually very, very cheap. I'm gonna show all the links, and hopefully, I mean, plan is to make this for like cheaper than you could buy one. Buy a nice one that is, and also be proud of it, and then also integrate my factory 3000 pipe, because that's important.
Yeah. Once you start going down that rabbit hole, you were talking about looking at airflow and velocity stacks and all that stuff like that. You can spend days before you come back out of that. I know when I built my first 7M, I went way down that hole on figuring out the volumetric efficiency of the engine and what turbo I was running and looking at piping. And everybody's like, "Oh, go 2.5 or 2 3/4 piping." And on the first one, I was running like a 57 trim. And so I actually built 2 1/4 inch intercooler piping because I wanted maximum torque. And like I left the long runner manifold and I did specific porting and all this stuff for that engine just because I knew I wasn't going to run crazy boost. And so that engine ended up making like 70 more foot-pounds of torque than it did horsepower, which was just crazy on what it was running, just because it was like a torque monster. It would blow the tires off, but it wasn't like crazy fast.
No, nice. And that's the thing too, it's just like that everyone everyone's goals may be like somewhat different too, and then there's like a million different ways like how to do things the right way. So yeah, you can definitely go down a rabbit hole. There's some people that just want to say things on the internet without necessarily like giving any sort of backup. So yeah, Danny has been schooling me in the art of smoky eunuch, and he did some crazy things with airflow back in the day, and actually used like water to map out airflow. I'm still reading his books, and I have not finished. I started, but have not finished yet. Power Secrets. So maybe I will get there, but yeah, this is like, it's been the very beginning of my journey, and I'm really excited about it. I mean, that's the thing about automotive that is so awesome, is that there's always more to learn. And like, I mean, Ryan, like you've taught me so much with your power steering rack rebuild. Like that's something I never did at Toyota or at any shop at all. It's like, oh, the power steering rack is that.
Yeah, you replace it.
Replace this, replace that. Actually, it's back there somewhere.
Well, we'll cross our fingers it works, right? When it goes back in.
Oh yeah, there's a couple seals.
We'll see how good your teacher was.
Well, and then also, how good is a student? Yeah, it's like stuff like this. It's like if you are just working as a regular, a line technician, that's something I would have never done. And I talk about this too a little bit when we're doing like ASE testing and stuff like that. We're talking about like what it takes to pass an ASE test. I mean, same thing. Like I've never rebuilt a master cylinder. Like I've never rebuilt a power sheet. Like those are not things that you do really. It's like what's the fastest, what's the cheapest, what's the best for the customer. So there's always more to learn in like whatever avenue of automotive you're in. So like it's kind of like once you begin, like once you sort of like crack open the shell, it's like woo, there's just like there's so much you can do. Like there's so much potential. So I don't know, now I've been learning dating, like wow. I thought I knew a lot about engine building. I don't even, it's like you don't know what you don't know until you know that you don't know. Like it's whoa, there's so much to it. It's cool. But then at the same time, it's so basic. It's so basic. Like I forget what exactly it was that Smokey Eunuch had thrown into the river. But we were reading this in our book club, and I don't know if it was like a toy car or like a rock or something, but Smokey's watching just how like the water flowed, and he was like, it's like the way that he described things just made it all make so much sense. And while it's simpler than you might think, I don't know. I also know nothing, so.
Well, it's so funny. We work on such a variety of stuff from all generations that we brought to Ryan's house my 62 Chevy flatbed, and it's a 1.5-ton chassis, and we knew nothing about it.
Hold on. Can you pause for 1 sec, Josh? Hold that thought. Grant's about to bounce, and he did have a question for you, so I really want to ask it, and hopefully we can catch him real quick. So Grant wanted to know, hey, Grant, hold on 1 sec. He wanted to know, what is the most memorable experience you've had on Motor Trend so far?
Oh my gosh. That's a really hard one. No, it's actually really easy. The most memorable moment that I've had, actually no one will ever be able to watch ever, because it was my audition for All Girls Garage. And I was so nervous. I couldn't eat anything. I just felt like I was going to throw up the entire day. And my audition wasn't until later. Like I watched, it was like all this stuff had to happen and everything was set up. And it's like, I've been making YouTube videos at that point for like a couple of years. So like, you would think I would be okay at it. But it is so different when you are on set, lights, cameras, people watching you, all these people in this back, in this dark room behind, like listening to you. It's like, it was very, very stressful. And I look around, and of course, I come from the world of Toyota, and that's mostly all that I work on. So that's, my sphere. So I'm like, all right, good. I'll just, do a little interview or whatever. No, it was like a working audition. And there was a bunch of stuff on set. And then, we'll just talk about anything on here that you want to talk about when your time comes. You'll be fine. And I was like, I'm looking around and I don't recognize any.
Right.
They're like, what's your specialty? And I was like, engines. They're like, oh, there's an engine over here. And they pull out this LS. And I'm like, shoot. No. I'm sorry. Belt-driven overhead cam engines. None of those around. I'm like, okay, I'll do something with this. This is fine. So then So they brought it out, and they were trying to help me. Like there are two behind the scenes mechanics that were like trying to help me like figure out like what I could talk about. I was so nervous. I was paler than I normally am in real life, and they were like, "Look, calm down, Faye. It doesn't have to be anything major. Like, why don't you just do like something like set timing on it." I've never set timing on an LS before, but at that point I hadn't. So I was like, all right, and I'm looking around trying to find tools. All the tools are disorganized all over the place. I know, it's like trying to go into a shop and find someone else's tools. And I'm like, right, I finally find the tools that I need. I'm trying to turn this thing over, and the thing will not turn over. Front, back. I cannot get this thing to turn over. And 3 minutes before, maybe not 3 minutes, maybe like 5 minutes before, like it is my time to go on, I'm like with the main behind the scenes mechanic trying to pull the heads off. And that was the first time that I'd ever experienced an engine that had carboned up so badly that it had, carbon knocked, but then carbon seized. It was just destroyed. And I'm like quickly cleaning this thing off. Oh my God, getting the carbon out of it, putting the heads back on, lost the gasket, put this one on backwards, no big deal, put it all back together. And then just like quickly like looked up on the internet, like, how do you find timing marks on an LS? And of course, they're all different. So like, what year is this? Yeah. There's no markings on it because it's a crate motor that's been painted over a million times. I'm like, what year is this? Where's the mark supposed to be? I actually, after I was done, I remember calling my mom and being like, I failed it. It was so bad. And then, I recently watched it over again, and I was like, damn, that's the best thing I've ever done. But that was by far the most memorable thing because of all the panic and all the emotion, and then the end result. How can at that moment got me here. So yeah, you never know what you can do under pressure, people. You never know. Back
to divine timing, like you said in the very beginning. Every time,
all works out.
Plus, that actually, if anyone has watched my Super Saga series, I actually had gotten some epic oil pumping through my 7M and had built up quite a bit of carbon on the pistons. And I had just gotten to the point where that was about to happen on the 7M. And after seeing that, I knew what it was. I knew what like the end results could be. But that's something like, you really don't see a whole bunch of in like a regular line tech or like a dealership sort of situation. Right. So like a lot of the stuff that I've like that show, I mean, an engine is an engine. Like, the ideas are the same. And like when I'm explaining how to do things, I'm not speaking out of ignorance. I am speaking with authority, but at the same time, I'm also learning a lot of new ways other manufacturers do things. And that has been like the coolest, craziest learning experience ever. Like, I've never worked on so many Mustangs in my life, people. It's been really cool.
That's perfect. So Josh, did you hold that thought, or is it gone?
It's pretty much gone. Because it's Taco Tuesday, the wife made me pour a margarita before we started so she could enjoy that. So I had to pour one for myself. But no, what I was going to say is
your flatbed. I didn't forget.
Yes, we brought the flatbed to Ryan's house, and we didn't know anything about it. We were told it turned over. It was at a wrecking yard that had impounded it originally, and then it went to auction, and then they bought it back. And long story, it's so simple that you forget how easy it is to work on old stuff. So it had a swap 327.
It's a small block Chevy. We're like, it's a small block Chevy. We can make this thing run. There's nothing to it.
I think we had it turned over in probably an hour, maybe a little bit longer. And then I ran to the parts store and grabbed some spark plugs, and it was running in less than 3 hours. We drove it off the trailer.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the small block Chevy.
Oh my God.
Parts availability, aftermarket support, and what was a spark plug? Like $1 each or something.
Yeah, I always joke about that because that's what I grew up with. And we joked back in the day, you could buy the parts to rebuild one at 7-Eleven if you needed to. I mean, they're just everywhere. It's everywhere.
Josh, you left out the part of that story, though, where we got it home. We were so excited. We're like, we're going to make this thing run. The starter it was just clicking, and it wouldn't turn over, but it had a good battery. It had everything. Like, we're like, unless this starter's toast, and I can't remember, we did something else, and we're like, well, let's put a socket on the pulley and just turn the thing over a little bit and make sure it turns. We put it on the pulley, and of course the old GMs, it's a 327, so it's got like the 3 bolts, not a single center bolt. I'm used to like small block Fords is kind of my thing, or Toyota motors where you can just put it on the crank pulley and just turn it because it's got a big old 3/4 right there. And we're like turning, and I'm like, I'm going to snap this bolt off and this thing's not turning over. And then, so we started grabbing the belts and we're like trying to turn it by hand. And we're like,
we're almost in tears at this point.
We're like, this motor might be froze up. So we went from like the happiest day of our lives to like, oh crap, this thing might have been full of water and it's froze up. And this thing is a boat anchor. To another 45 minutes later, we had my neighbor down the road who has another YouTube channel, Classic Nation, and is a huge Chevy guy, come down. And he's like, oh no, small box Chevys don't just turn over by hand like that. They're harder than your typical Ford. Here, do this. And we turn it and he's like, yeah, it's fine. And then 20 minutes later, we had it running and we're back to just euphoria. Like, this is amazing.
Classic water bottle transformed into gas tank, squeezing to pump fuel in.
Water bottle in the hood while he's driving. Because we didn't have a fuel pump. It was amazing.
Nice. Oh, wow. Well, see, and that's like something you'll never forget because like the roller coaster ride of emotion. I feel like that's why so many of us that are like car people can like relate on like this soul level. Because like you can't really like explain to someone that doesn't understand like the relationship that you have with this meaningless lump of metal, as some people see it, you know, that like it's just like this epic money pit. Why would you spend your time on that? Why would you spend your money on that? And it's just like no, like I was explaining to a friend of mine recently about how like building this car has been like the greatest thing I've ever done in my life. And she was like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, no, like you don't understand. Like it was building the car. It was building my soul, my spirit, my work ethic, my skills. Like building the car, the Supra, the Mark III, has been the greatest thing I've ever done in my life. And I feel like you can't explain it to someone that hasn't experienced it, hasn't experienced like the emotional like highs and lows, and just like I don't know, there's something so gratifying about going home at the end of the day and being like, I completed that really difficult task. And for some it might be like, all right, it's like, you know, a Lego project, like, you know, a puzzle, a puzzle for like adults. But I don't know, like there's something so powerful about going down the street in something that like you built with your own hands and your own tools and the parts that you saved up for, maybe for years you saved up for these parts, and like you are going, like you are free under your own autonomous self, like with something that was built by you. I don't know. It's just like, whew, it's a feeling.
Yeah, and to your point, like this emotional roller coaster and building something with your own hand, like, and your Supra. I mean, so we know each other because you were from the Northwest for a long time. You lived here. And so we run with the same Supra crew. Like we've been in Pac Northwest Supras and back from the forum days. So that's kind of how we know each other. Exactly. Like, but your Supra in general has one of the biggest roller coaster stories. Like, that's where I remember meeting you first. I remember when you got your car and you posted about it, but I really remember your build thread because like your car was so gorgeous when you first got it. Like I think this is early on, right? It was
that was after my first wreck when I painted it. Yeah, but it was almost that pretty when I first bought it. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And then is that Shay's car next to you?
That's Shay's car.
That's what I thought. I could almost see the sticker. I can't read it. And this is what I remember your car from, was how badly it was wrecked to where 99% of people would have trashed it and got a new shell. And I remember all of us on the forums were almost all telling you, like, I probably said it too. You should just get a new shell.
I don't remember your username, but I was probably mean. I was probably mean back.
I was probably one of the more understanding ones, just because I'm so attached to my cars. Like I have memory. Like my first Supra I've had since I bought it my senior year of high school, and I get so attached. Like just dragging my dad out in the shop to work on it till 3 a.m. with me, even though he doesn't want to. And just so I get it. Like I would probably rebuild that car unless it was just wrecked beyond belief. But yeah, it was. I mean, this car, it got hit hard to where everybody, like I said, myself included, was probably saying it might be worth getting a new shell, save as many parts as you can and try and put the heart in something new. But like, I mean, it was a bad hit. And
yeah,
I mean, quarter panels suck. That one's pretty bad. My brother's car, his first car was an 89 and he took a hit in a quarter panel like that and we pulled it all back out. It still needs a little body work to finish it off, but yeah, but the biggest thing was, and you snapped the knuckle off.
Yep, both your knuckles were damaged.
This was probably what made me cry the most, was your Panasports getting trashed.
Yeah. Well, actually, I can't even tell you. Like, I actually seeing those pictures right now is like still hard to say. It's like sort of hitting me in the feels. But yeah, so that was huge. So I went to every single wheel repair place to try to fix them. I actually still have that wheel hanging at the center of that wheel. It's a 3-piece wheel. I still have the center portion hanging right behind me. That says wall art on it. So huge shout out to Wheelcraft Northwest that actually did a whole bunch of the work to them. But actually, huge shout out to Corey, who still like blocks me on everything and like does not talk to me to this day. But I have an ex-boyfriend that was also into Supras, and he actually found those 2 wheels up in Canada and like drove across the border to get them. And then I was able to rebuild them. We were able to find I was able to find part of the barrels, the inner part, but not the outer part. So those ones did not have the offset that I wanted. They were it was not as extreme. And I really I still like hold on to the first trophy I ever got with that car, which was like best fitment. I was like, that's right, I'll be best fitment for the rest of my life with this car. Yeah. And then that happened. I'm like, crap, there goes my status. I mean, I think I actually have best fitment around here somewhere. That trophy still like import face off or something. But yeah, so eventually the guys at Wheelcraft Northwest found the inner barrel and were able to rebuild it back to the same offset that I had originally. And they polished the lips for me and powder coated the centers to this gorgeous bronze. And like they ended up turning out, better than when I first got them, but still like.
They're honestly like the color you picked for those is gorgeous. I think I probably commented that back in the day, but those wheels are stunning. And like,
thank you so much.
I'm such a big proponent of period correct wheels, like getting late 80s, late or early 90s wheels for these cars. And those are like one of the most iconic wheels. Like I have a set of my dream wheels for my other Mark III forever were the Stern Phase 2s.
Oh, you know what those are? I don't think I do. Do you have a picture of them?
Not handy. I'll show you later.
I'll have to look them up. Yeah,
but yeah, the super flat face, they're super 90s wheel too. And I finally found a set, so I need to refinish them, but I have those for it. And then like even on my black car, I always get asked what the wheels were. And at first I liked them, but I didn't know what they were. And everyone would always ask me, and I'm kind of like, I don't know, I need to figure it out. And it was actually Rodell finally helped me figure it out because that guy's a wizard at finding pictures of things. They're like circa 1988 American racing wheels. Back when they were really high end. So they're like a 1-piece spun aluminum wheel. So they're
those
like
so
they're like
80s. That's perfect.
Yeah, they're like American like ADM wheels back in the 80s, but they're super cool. Yeah.
That's rad. No, definitely. That was that was really, really hard. And there was a period there where I put my Mark IV wheels back on the car, and it hurt my heart. I got like a million pictures of the Supra in the shop, but yeah, I mean it looked okay. I do like the Mark III with the Mark IV TT wheels, but it was it hurt the pride. I still went out to some shows, but what a lot of people don't realize is that damage, the front end damage, was the worst. It actually bent the frame. Oh, yeah. And I went to several
frame shop.
Yes, I took it to several frame repair shops. Oh yeah, that's the picture. Yeah.
So this is what I remember the most. Look how far out that frame is. That's got to be what, 5 inches on the one side on that rail.
Ooh, that I don't remember. I actually have all the old. I was just looking through my files and I have like all the spec sheets on it. So I'll have to pull that out. But yeah, it was beyond where it was out of factory specification for repairing. So I got turned away by 2 in Portland and then one shop in Washington. And I ended up finding a shop out in Vernonia.
Oh yeah.
Nowhere.
I don't even know where that is. And I'm from the area.
Head out to the coast, man.
Yes, I drove really, 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 really far. And I had like no money. I don't remember like at what point I think I was still like an oil change slave at Toyota, or maybe, I don't know, maybe I moved off the lube rack at that point, but I think I was still an oil change slave making like no money. So I had like no money. So not only did I find this frame shop that was willing to take me on, but then I was like, okay, so now that you're willing to do the work, can I do most of the work aside from the part that you actually have to do? But like, can I like disassemble everything and like put in hours so that I can like save money and like be able to afford this repair? And they said yes. Not only that, I actually ended up doing a little bit of work with them on the side when there was like a couple other Toyotas in the shop that like, you know, they were taking apart for other repair work. They were like, well, since we're doing you some favors, will you at least work on this or work on that? And I was like, sure. So we ended up trading labor.
I can just see that owner just being like, oh God, what did I just agree to? You start around, can I disassemble the car in your shop though? Because I don't have a lot of money. And he's just like, oh God, why did I say yes to this job?
You know what? I actually called the shop like recently, like a couple months ago, and I wanted to like talk to him and like thank him for everything he did for me. He didn't have time to talk to me, which I understand. But I was like, I just really want to thank you for like helping me out of my Supra. And so I talked to the secretary. She's like, I'm sorry, he doesn't have time to talk to you. I'm like, that's okay. Just give him this message then. But no, actually, he was a super cool guy. He owned a Super Bee and made fun of me that I did not know that I was a car chick that didn't know what a Super Bee was. And I learned that day what a Super Bee is. And it's like, well, you know, sometimes you learn things in weird ways. But yeah, actually there is, when I was redoing the body work for the engine bay paint, one of my amazing girlfriends, Angie, was helping me out with a lot of, you know, teaching me the techniques of prepping for paint because I messed it up the first go round. And there's a plate, actually three plates welded into the engine bay where the metal had bent to the point where it was it had fatigued and was no longer had the structural integrity, shall we say, that would keep me safe. So yeah, he welded these heavy duty metal plates over it, and she was like, "Ooh, we should smooth those out and make them look good." I was like, "No, we should keep those forever because they will remind me of the epic mistake that I made when I wrecked the car for the second time." So they're still prominently displayed in my engine bay, despite the beautiful paint. And like I shaved every single other, like I welded, I bonded, I shaved every other like unused bolt hole and unnecessary crinkle in the entire engine bay. But I left these three ugly plate marks just to, you know, because they're special, like her little birthmarks or something, you know. It's like those are only hers. Anyway,
that's awesome.
Like you, I mean, and I don't know. I remember that build thread poignantly, like the whole time. That's probably one of the biggest things that stood out to me, just because I remembered how everyone was telling you to replace the car and you were so attached. And then I remember that you even had like your tattoo of the VIN. I had a picture of it.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I did that one myself.
I guess I didn't have to find a picture. It's on your wrist.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
But
I got both of them. You know, the Volkswagen, which started my automotive journey, really, the Rabbit and the Supra, because of things like that. Those moments that you have where, against everyone's best advice, against all odds, against all financial responsibility, you know, I remember actually like posting a picture on the build thread of the time that I spent way too much money on a good shell, and then I ended up cutting out half the rear to weld into. Actually, I was a terrible welder at that point. I'm still a terrible welder, so I paid someone else to do like the welding. But I cut out the rear end to put into this one, and I think I remember like the exact post was something to the effect of like, you know, if my mom knew that I just spent like my entire week's paycheck on this piece of garbage, she would be so disappointed. But in reality, you know, she's been really proud of this journey. But those moments where like you overcome because like your soul tells you it's the right thing to do. I don't know, like they make you who you are. So that's why, I mean, this wasn't like a superficial tattoo, like, oh, I'm just gonna get a car tattoo. It was like, no, like this car, exactly this one, saving this one, not any Supra, this one, like everything that I went through with that really like catapulted me into the next level of like being a technician at every single level. I guess, you know, as my friend Danny always tells me, like, yeah, I could have spent $30,000 on going to automotive tech school, you know, and then of course, you know, the textbooks and, you know, who knows, but I I did not go to school. I've
Right.
learned through like, other people teaching me, passing on their knowledge to me. And then I've learned by like making terrible mistakes. I was like, well, at least at the end, like of all of my terrible mistakes, like I have, I had something cool to show for it. Aside
worked
from
out.
yeah, exactly. Something I'm really proud of. So
yeah, that makes all the difference. Like that's why that car means so much. It would have been one thing if you had let it go and you got another Supra, but the fact that you saved it, like it's irreplaceable now times 10.
Oh, absolutely. And for all the people that think that now that I have the Mark V, I'm gonna like forget about this one. No, no, absolutely not. And nothing is gonna. I would definitely, I would leave every other car in the world before this one. What's that?
I said this one's a real Toyota, so.
Oh! Woo!
It's throwing down.
Shots fired.
Faye, I was going to ask because I'm pretty sure I know what Ryan's is, but what's the car you let go that you wish you never had?
Oh, my 1986 Suzuki Samurai. I regret that.
Too easy.
Oh my God. No, I really regret selling that little truck. Okay, first of all, same ice blue pearl color as my Supra, 1986, like me. But also like, come on, three-piece hardtop, 5-speed, convertible truck, every girl's dream. So I really miss that. And I sold it to get the money to paint the car. And I crashed it a couple months later. So it wasn't even worth it.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know for sure if this is Ryan's, but he sold his Evo and it was wrecked 3 weeks later, I think, and he had a phone call from Highway Patrol saying that come get your car.
Yeah, I had an Evo 10 and I sold it just because prices were still really high and I was kind of and I was going to dump more money into the Supra. I was basically like I had a daily that was fun and I was at the point where I'm like, I can't make this thing go any faster because I'm worried about breaking it and getting to work on Monday. And so I kind of have this mediocre, like fun daily, but I can't really push it. I don't want to track it. I should just sell it and buy a daily that's cheap and dump all the money into the Supras and have a fast car and a daily that's slow.
You did track it though, and you put it in the bank in the snow.
Oh yeah, we tracked it in the snow. So while I'm saying I didn't want to track it and wreck it, I put it on a road course in the snow when they had a snow rally. So I'm not very good at
snow rallies.
But 3 weeks later, I got a call from like State Patrol saying, "Hey, we have your car in an impound lot." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" "Oh, it's a 2011 Mitsubishi." Yeah, I sold that car. Is it still? It's still in your name. And I'm like, so I called the towing lot and I'm like, am I liable? Is this still actually my car? Did he not switch the title? And anyways, the tow guy's like, okay, well, you'll probably fine then. And I'm like, can you just send me pictures, man? And he goes, well, it sounds like it's not really your car anymore, so I don't know if I should. And I'm like, I just really want to see what happened to it, bro. And he's like, okay. So he texts me pictures and I just almost cried because it was like totaled, like roof damage. Oh God, it was bad.
Oh man.
I don't know if that's actually my one though.
What's that?
I don't know if that's my one car that I'm sad at. Like that one I do very much miss. That car was just so much fun. And I don't know how people wreck those because I've never been in a car where you could get into so much trouble and upset the vehicle in the wrong ways. Like you could do everything wrong and the car will pull out of it. It was almost too confident to drive. Like it could be raining, you downshift into second, let it hit like $7,000 and pitch it into a corner and just overtake the tires laterally. And you just stab the throttle and just let it drift out. Like, and it would just pull itself in the wet. It was like, I don't know how you get into serious trouble in that car. It was just, everything worked right. But I also, I know, and Faye, you'll appreciate this one. I had a 3rd gen Tacoma. So the same as your 4Runner, but a Tacoma extended cab, 5-speed, just, oh God, I miss that truck very much too. That one's very much up there.
What happened? Why'd you sell that one?
Because it wouldn't fit kids. It was an extended cab. We were getting ready to have kids. I couldn't put a car seat in it. And so I sold it and bought an F-150 with 4 doors. But I still miss that truck. It wasn't practical at that point because they're so small, but it was the best truck in the snow. And like, it blew the F-150 away with all the traction control bullshit. You just put it in 4. Oh, and it was amazing.
Oh, well, I'm so sorry. Thankfully, I don't have to make decisions like that at this point in my life yet. Everything is a 2-seater around here. Well, the Tacoma has 2 seats in the back, but not very many. We could fit the chickens back there, maybe.
I was gonna say any car fits chickens, so you're good.
Yes, especially when they're on my lap. Any car fits chickens. Aw, my best passengers.
So you just got more chickens, I saw, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay, how many are we up to now?
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. We have 6 chickens. But more in the future. So we actually we started out our chicken journey. I've had chickens my whole life, but finally we got a house. I'm like, a house, we can have chickens. So as a child, I remember like my favorite chickens that I had, and they were all like the cute ones. So Silky, Sarama. Sarama's like the smallest chicken. They're like, and then Silkies are just very, very fuzzy. They have nothing but down, and they're also like chickens with 5 toes. So I'm just like, all right, well, I'm in charge of the chickens around here, so I picked out the cute ones. Then the pandemic hit, and there were no eggs anywhere. Oh, that's Daisy, my shop chicken. So yeah, they hang out in the shop with me, and they eat the bugs off the floor. It's amazing. So that's a Silky. Now, the problem with Silkies is that, while they're very sweet, they have this like need to become mothers. So anytime they lay an egg or other chickens lay an egg, they just stop laying eggs entirely and put all of their energy into trying to, warm this egg so that it will eventually hatch. Now, of course, we don't have any roosters, so these eggs are completely infertile, but that does not stop the Silkies from stopping everything to sit on the nest. So the pandemic hits. Come March, there's no eggs on the shelf. And we've got these chickens, and my husband's like, oh, okay. So we've got no eggs. We've got all these chickens and no eggs. So, all right, we're going to get more chickens, but you cannot choose this time because you will just bring home more cute ones that don't lay eggs.
Chicken rights revoked.
I was like, well, fine. So, but at the time, like laying hens were going for like $75. We're like, okay. So I'm sure there's a lot of other people that had like pandemic chicken buying, pandemic panic chicken buying. We had that too. Yeah. So we figured out when the chicks were coming in, and we woke up at like the crack of dawn. I'm not an early riser, and we got in line before the feed store even opened, and we were like lined up like car lengths back on the high. Oh yes, those are our actual egg laying chickens. They actually lay eggs, and we got these chickens. So of course my husband was a practical one, and we've got to like rush in. So like there are like only 4 people at a time. You can only get this many chickens, and there's like this mob of people showed up to get baby chicks because everyone was freaking out about having to make their own food or whatever because there's no eggs on the shelves. So we've only got a certain amount of time, and of course I go in there and there's chickens. I'm like, I'm just like overwhelmed by how cute they all are. And my husband's like, that one's eating, great. That one's eating, great. That one's eating, fantastic. He's like, are they healthy? Are they eating? Are they drinking? Fantastic. Grabs, sticks them in a box. So needless to say, we have some very healthy, large, voluptuous, egg-laying ladies that have, yes, that's Cleo, my favorite. Oh,
wait, are you allowed to have favorites when it comes to chickens?
Are you allowed to do that?
Yes, absolutely.
I guess they don't. They can't hear you. It's not like kids.
No, and let's be honest, you have favorite kids too. But it changes. It changes as they evolve. So there's certain periods of their lives where just some are better than others. I mean, I've always had this like special place in my heart for our like special needs Silky Luna, who makes some special guest appearances in my YouTube videos, and actually recently was the guest star of my how to turn the seatbelt buzzer off in your Tacoma video. She refused to put her seatbelt on and got me frustrated, and I had to turn the seatbelt buzzer off, of course. But Luna, she's just like, she's not very smart. She doesn't lay eggs. She likes to spend most of her time sitting on the nest, even though like sometimes she'll sit on the nest and there's no eggs, and you're like, Luna, why? So there's some times where she's my favorite, and then there's some other times where I'm just like, so I mean, you go through phases with them, but yeah.
We were talking about earlier how much chickens have become a part of your channel, and just we were talking in general how weird it is, like the little things that become a thing on a channel, and like that your subscribers latch onto, and it's always the stuff you don't expect. Like yours, it's totally the chickens, and it became the chicken timers, and you have chicken merch, and like it just became a thing.
The chicken timer was so weird. So I mean, as you know, like Danny and I can live stream for like 3 hours on like engine oil and not even touch like a quarter of what we have to say about engine oil. And so like eventually
I put a note, do not start talking about oil on mine, because I'm sure you and I could talk all day, because that's another rabbit hole I've been down. I've spent way too much time. Oh God, group 4, group 5, hydrocracked. Oh, don't get me started on ad packs. Like I could nerd out on that shit.
what? Oh my God. Actually, we should have a talk about engine oil. Maybe, okay. Well, maybe we can see, and we can have Danny on as well and do like an epic engine oil. Yeah, but we'll talk all day.
I'm down. I'm down.
And that was the problem. That was the problem, is like, I think one of our live streams like got to 3 hours, or like close to 3 hours. And we're like, okay, none of us have eaten. We've drank in all these beverages, and we still haven't even begun to talk about the most important things about engine oil. So we've got to figure out how to, you know, put some sort of time limit on our live streams. I was like, well, I could set a timer on my phone, but I can't because I'm recording with my phone. So like one day as I was leaving the house to go to a live stream, like just it popped in, I was like, I should grab the kitchen timer and just set it for an hour. And then lo and behold, the chicken timer went off the first time and it just stuck. and now it's a thing. So who knows? Like things are random and weird, and you never just, but as long as you just like flow with it and are like totally authentic to your true self, like you can't like force anything to click or stick or even be your thing necessarily. Like you've just got to like live your own authentic life and just do what makes sense to you. And then like those things just sort of develop. Like I couldn't have predicted any of this weird stuff. It just, I don't know, it just sort of happened. So
the comments are flying in about chickens and oil like you can't believe. Danny, don't get Danny started. That's all I know.
Oh, yeah.
I think we've done like 3 or 4 live streams on engine oil so far, actually, and we still haven't even scratched the surface. So, but yeah, he's very knowledgeable about engine oil. And then I was telling you about my job at Intertech, and I did a bunch of oil testing. Like that was my job. I mean, a lot of them were like blind studies, though. I wasn't allowed to know what the manufacturer was, but I learned a lot about the additives and the effects of bad engine oil. So like I did that for over a year. And then with Danny's knowledge just from building engines, it's like, whew. I'm sure there's like a million comments. What engine oil should I use?
Yeah. Well, the one that just caught my attention, and I think both of you will appreciate, is what do you think about the Mark IIIs finally hitting the market big, even though it's kind of slowly? But we all see the uptick in value. It's starting to climb.
Well, I know honestly, it's anything that's 80s and 90s JDM, like especially 80s, like the super boxy 80s cars, like even our old Corolla is starting to get popular. And I don't know, for me, I'm really torn just because being such a longtime owner, I don't really care if people know what it is or because I love the car. So I'm a little bit sad because I miss cheap parts and I miss being able to find them in a junkyard. Like I hated seeing them in a junkyard, but just not being able to find parts anymore and the values going up. And if I ever had to replace one of my cars, God forbid something happened to it, that part makes me sad. And I don't really care about like the cloud and people actually knowing what it is. But I will 100%. Say one kind of cool thing is, I mean, I've had my car since my senior year of high school. So I don't even know, 15 years I've had a Supra.
Wow.
And yeah, now I have 2. And just in that whole time, when I was at a gas station or at a car wash, the only people who ever stopped me and said cool car or knew what it was either someone else who had one or their dad had one. Like
yes,
up. That was it. And they were like, sweet. And everybody else was like, is that a Ford Probe? Or like, cool 240, bro. And I'm like, sweet. But like now it's insane. Every time I drive the car, I get honked at or I get someone like, dude, I love those. Or like, I just get comments, and it did not used to be that way. So it's really weird. Like, and I've driven Mark IVs and stuff. And so I know that those guys get that attention forever. But I don't know, that part is definitely interesting. I've noticed that for a couple of years, even before they got expensive, is you kind of saw that rise in getting attention when you were in one. And now the prices are starting to reflect that. So I'm kind of mixed on it. It's kind of cool to own one and actually see like, man, people are actually paying what the cars are worth now. You know, they're starting to get, $20,000, $30,000 for a really clean Mark III just because they're hard to find.
What?
Oh, yeah. Did you see the ones that went at Barrett Jackson?
No.
I wish I remembered the numbers, but there was, let's see. I can't remember. There's a couple that went in the 80s, like $80,000. But we're talking like 29 original miles.
Okay.
An 87 red leather interior, like pristine, like rolled off the showroom floor. It was one of those ones where I'll be the first. Red is probably my least favorite interior color on the Mark III.
Yeah, I know. Mine too. You gotta say it, but you don't like it, but you gotta say it. That's fine.
Right.
No one likes the maroon.
Yeah. Honestly, and then later they changed it to oxblood. There's actually a slight difference in the color change in the later cars. That one looks a little better.
Sounds more badass.
Yeah, it does. I mean, they murdered an ox all over it, so it's like Viking.
Hey Ryan, sorry to interrupt you, but we have a correction. Is that a Supra says the last two at Barrett Jackson, 85K and 98K.
What?
I think the 98K was like a 91 or 92 car, I think, if I remember right. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. I remember looking at it. Yeah, and I mean, they were super low miles, like almost no miles. But seeing that red leather interior, brand new, like pristine leather, you were like, whoa, when it's clean, this color can look very, very good. But
it's amazing, so when I first got mine, I remember going to a junkyard in Vancouver, Washington, and there were 3 of them in the junkyard. And I was like pulling interior parts, pulling 3 of them.
I've never had that.
Man, I'm still like, I mean, every single 7M I have in here, I have 4, and I got them all for free. Just people being like, I don't want this piece of crap. And I'm like, yeah, bring it over. I mean, I'm sure gone are the days soon. I mean, I'm glad I hopped on it now. I mean, I thought that I way overpaid for mine. But maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, like I bought my first one. I went and looked for a super nice one. I wanted an 89. I was weird. Like at the time, I didn't know anything about rarity and stuff. Yeah, 89 is where it's at, right? It's like the bastard child here. Because it's got the coolest steering wheel. Like we can all agree with that. The 89 wheel is it because it's the 3-spoke.
I agree.
Yep. That's probably the best part. But then everything else about the car is a huge pain in the ass because if you have, like my brother and I both have 89s, his is an early one, so it has square engine mounts. Mine's a late one, so it has round engine mounts. His has non-progressive power steering and has the steering damper. His has a yellow plug ECU and harness. Mine's got the standard 89, like weird harness that's in between. It's got the, it's a gray plug harness, but all the plug shapes are the same as the pre-89. Whereas if you get a 90, they're a different engine harness. Like, oh man.
Whoa! 89. And I've got like half of that list.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So 89 is like the one, but I wanted an 89 for whatever reason. And yeah, I think you wanted $4,000 for my car way back then because it was really clean. And I talked him down to like 36. And that was a lot at the time. And now it's like, man, looking at what especially like the 91, 92s, like I'm so glad I pulled the trigger and got a 92 when I did just because I wanted a sunroof car. But now they're just
nice. Oh. Well, not knowing what I know now, I really wanted a Targa top car, and I got one, and I still like it.
I'll never get rid of my Targa. Like my 89 was a Targa because I wanted it so bad, and then it was weird. Like once I got the Targa, I still love it. It's really cool. I don't know if I could. That's why I have 2 because I have a Targa and a hardtop sunroof car.
See, that's what I need. Well, I mean. Not the sunroof, just the hard top. Like I need the base model with nothing, and then I need the fancy with the everything. But going back to the earlier question about whether or not it's a good thing, I think that there is some good to be seen from the popularity of the Mark III, and also hopefully the 7M is come on people, say the 7M is a parts availability because like even now still like I'll look for stuff for the 7M and it's like. A clear timing cover for the 1JZ is like $35. A clear timing cover for the 7M is like $150. And you're like, why?
Yeah. You're like, my entire engine was $75. Why am I going to put a $150 cover on it? Right?
But yeah. So, I mean, hopefully we get a little bit more. I mean, Aaron of Drift Motion. Oh, thank you. But the more aftermarket support that we have for the 7M and for the cars, and the more people buying the stuff, so it actually is like good for people to produce the stuff in bulk. Might help lower prices and might help us with like restorations. So I don't know. There's some good.
That's so funny.
My wife commented. She said, "I'm not giving up the Target top." I think she's talking to my 89. I'm giving it to her.
Oh, good. No, I love the Target top, and I honestly I feel like it is iconic to the Supra, and I don't know. There's something special about owning a Supra with the Target top, and I mean I drive without the top on all the time. So well, when it drove,
Yeah.
when it drove, I mean. As much as the bane of my existence, because I replaced the seal so many times and it's taken so long to figure out the trick to making it not leak.
Not get a leak.
Especially when living in Portland, that was lousy.
Oh, I was so lucky. Mine didn't leak for the longest time. Like I had I mean, I had one. It would rarely leak. I'd get like one drip after like a downpour rainstorm. Like I'd have one little couple drips right there on the door panel, and that was it. But yeah,
I think after the wreck and like making it maybe a little bit not quite so even.
The Targets are so good, but I will say after owning a sunroof car, I use it way more because it's a push of a button. And it's like, oh, I want to open the sunroof. And now I want to close it. It's not, okay, let me hop out and undo these and put it in the trunk. And now like, oh, I want to put it back on. It's getting cold. So I've noticed I use it more. Like there was times I was like, I'd love to take the top off right now, but I don't want to pull over. So I just roll the windows down. So and then also like when I have the sunroof open, my car still doesn't flex and feel like a wet noodle. So I will say that part is kind of cool, but it's still the Target just looks so good when it's off and there's nothing there. Like just empty. So good.
I fit in it when you take the Target off.
What's that?
I said, plus I fit in his car when he takes the Target off.
Yeah, he like looks over the windshield.
Yeah. Oh man, then you would definitely not fit in the Mark V.
Yeah, I bet not.
No, there is a lack of space, height-wise, to say the least. But I will say that it's a chore putting the Target on and off. In fact, I've had an epic fail with the. Since we're talking about fails, I'll just continue with failing on my Supra. I had an epic fail one day. I just drove back like really late at night from like I don't know, like a 5-hour drive, and I had the Target on. I had the Target off, and then when I finally got home after like this terrible drive, I somehow managed to like bust out like first and second gear in my RM54. So like I don't know, don't ask me how, but it was a terrible drive, and I was stressed out by the time I got home, and I just set my sunroof, the Target top, on top of the car, and I was like, oh okay, and I forgot about it for a while. Oh, you know where this is going. I forgot about it for a while. I'm like, well, I'm gonna have to pull the transmission out and rebuild it. I can't drive in the city. I can't drive to work now without first and second gear. So I let the car sit for a couple of weeks. And then finally, I got to reserve the shop space for the weekend. And I was like, okay, I'll pull the transmission out and I'll rebuild it. Well, I got on the highway, and long story short, I now have Daryl's Target top, old one. And he has a carbon fiber one. So fantastic. That was traumatic. I should have saved it, but I got really upset and I threw it in the dumpster.
Yeah,
we had one more 7M question come in. Is that a Supra 7M ITBs ?
Oh,
GE ITBs. I mean, it's building an NA 7M with ITBs has been done a few times over the years. I remember
so baller.
It's so cool. Like it's the worst investment per horsepower per dollar you'll ever make in your life. So don't do it if you want to go fast. Just because you will spend $10,000 to make 320 horsepower NA with ITBs. Like it's astronomical what it takes. You gotta have, full standalone, high compression, porting, dialed in ITBs. Like it takes a lot, but when it runs, it sounds amazing and it's so responsive. Like a few guys have done it over the years. It's cool.
Yeah, I've seen a really awesome build on Supermania, and then there is someone in Washington that has a 7M ITB build, and it looks so cool and it sounds amazing.
Have you had it forever? I'm blanking on the name, but I've seen one at like the Centralia meets. Some guy did it here. I wonder if it's still him.
I don't know, because that was like I have like kind of a bad memory sometimes, but like that the Centralia meet was like the meet that I was thinking of too that I saw. So that. Yep. So maybe like I'm getting you 90% of the way there, and like maybe you're filling that in for me. Yeah, I don't know who it is though. I can't remember. But it's like, what is your end goal? If you want to be just the coolest person at a meet, then like it's worth it. But yeah, no, I will. It's neither cheap nor practical horsepower wise, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of people that put the investment and time into that particular build. Yeah, good question.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of, you brought up Daryl. So Daryl actually asked a question on the on Instagram.
Nice.
Yeah, he wants to know if you're still the best trailer driver that if he is still the best trailer driver that you know.
Oh, for sure, yes, absolutely, absolutely, yes, Daryl.
So for those of you who don't know Daryl, he's a Canadian Viking that drives trailers and cars for a living, mostly like McLarens and Ferraris these days too. So cool shit.
Yeah, and I think he actually is like the human incarnate of Odin.
Yeah, literally is. He's,
Plus,
and
he
the
has
nicest, and he's like a Viking, so like you look at him and he could be terrifying, but he's also Canadian, so he's the nicest person you've ever met. Like
everything's all right, eh?
Yeah.
Good question. Keep them coming, folks.
I should go through. Let me go through a couple of the Instagrams. So Mark, who's on here, he asked the ITB question. He had one that you will appreciate. He just wanted to know why you're so awesome, Faye.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I mean, thanks.
And then let's see. I got another one. Mason. He wants to know when you're going to come to Spokane to wife him up. Just kidding, but it would be really cool if you came here.
I actually Spokane. I've been there like once, I think. I would like. It's a dream of mine to get the Mark III running again and just like show up to some random ass meet. I'm sorry, random butt meet. No, that sounds terrible.
We're drinking meet. And we swear, so don't worry.
Oh gosh, I don't know. I try not to swear on my channel, so.
We're not good.
I'm drinking water now, but it's like a dream of mine to like show back up to like the old stomping grounds and be like, "Hey, people, remember me from like way back when my car sucked? It still sucks, but at least it runs now."
I remember.
What's that?
Sorry, Faye. I was gonna say. I think there's a Cheyenne trip this summer that you were talking about, Ryan.
Oh yeah, that was Grant. So Straight Six fan. He has a channel. He's in the Midwest, and there's a couple guys in like the Southwest and some other places, and they were all trying to get everybody to go to like Cheyenne, Wyoming, because it's kind of central for everybody, and have a car.
That works for Faye.
Yeah,
and Wyoming's sweet. Like
Wyoming's cool. Yeah.
I hear they're pretty free there, so it might be actually like reasonable to have them meet. So I'd be down.
Yeah, but I think you could probably do whatever you want in Wyoming.
I'm down. Yeah, it's like cowboys and stuff. So I bled right in. But I love reminiscing. I'm such like a picture taker and like a video taker anyway. Like even before social media was a thing. Like I love to document everything, and I absolutely like love looking back on that time when I lived in Portland and like all the Supra friends that I had and all the stuff that we did. It's like I mean like in my wildest dreams, like I imagine getting back together with everybody. I mean, I know things are different now. Like a lot of people have sort of moved on, sold their cars, gotten families, made it not a priority. Like, things have changed. Like we all grow and change in different ways, but I don't know. It'd be cool. Like a high school reunion or something.
You should totally come. I agree. Like the Pacific Northwest crew has changed a lot. Like there's a lot of guys that when I was just a kid coming up in the super scene, looking up to that, like, I mean, Ron sold his car. He's building a sick ISF, but he's out. Dwayne's out. Dwayne does have a Mark IV, but he's really kind of over the super scene and doing bikes.
Wait, Dwayne with 1,000 horsepower 7M?
Yeah, he sold it. He sold it to his brother, and then Dana some other dude bought it. Anyways, so he did buy a Mark IV and was building it like the same meticulous thing, but he kind of abandoned the project and it's sitting. Anyways, so like a lot of those guys that were legends are still there, but like I went a couple last nationals. Dave Stewart was there. He's still the goofiest Canadian you'll ever meet. I saw Tom Breeze. Nate bought Ron's old car, so now he has that one. I don't know. It's still the same family. Like we went and stayed with. I know you were really jealous. We went and stayed with Shay for Formula Drift and got to see Bridget and Gio and Shay and Eric and everybody. And Matt and Corey was there. I know you mentioned Corey. I know you guys weren't on speaking terms. I still want to hang out with him, but I know I've known Corey forever too. But I will say,
people.
Right. It's changed, but it's definitely still a family. And like this year, we went and did that, and we needed it more than ever with COVID and everything. Like it was a big deal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like, you know, that back then we had like a very strong, like Supramania, like, you know, forum presence. Like everyone sort of kept in touch constantly, whether we were seeing each other in person or like, you know, even staying in touch online. And like, you know, even that has died out. And it's just like, you know, you feel so isolated right now, and people have moved away and things have changed. It's like, yeah, we need human contact and interaction like more than ever. So yeah, I mean, I know I definitely need it. So yeah, we'll be in touch about that. We'll see. And now I have, like I was telling Shay, like I have no excuses now. Like I can at least go up to a Supra meet with a Supra. You know, even if I'm still, you know, work in progress in the Mark III, which is like sort of the end goal. Like that's one thing I learned about having a chance to do it over again multiple times. It's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Even if I failed with the steering rack, like fine, okay, I'll do it again. I know there are some things that, you know, maybe I would like to powder coat some other parts of it, you know, and make it even better next time. But it's like, you know, there's beauty in like taking your time and really like doing your best at something and like, you know, being proud of the end result. So I'm really glad that I had the opportunity to not rush it for like, you know, the next meet or the next get together or the next gathering, that I can just like take my time and do, you know, like I always wanted to you know, make my own forward facing and take Manifold, because let's face it, that's the worst thing about the 7M.
I did too. I wanted to make one, and I even have like on my other one, I have the HKS crossover pipe. That's like my most coveted part, just because it's so cool. So now, like, I'm gonna leave it. That car is gonna be built to just 80 spec. It doesn't need to be fast, whatever. But I was always so torn. I'm like, I want a front facing, but I want to keep the HKS pipe, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've even attached my 3000 pipe, but I'm gonna cut it off and, you know, stick it on the Manifold somewhere so that it's still integrated. Yeah, I'm gonna figure something out. The final design is like in my head, but you know, it's not, I guess, until doing it.
See if you can put it as a straight running off the turbo, like on the hot side.
Ooh, I didn't even think about that.
Like it'd be down low, but if your air filter curves out of the way enough to where you can just see it right there. See if she's mapping it out now. Because then it's the right diameter too. Because your hot side, if it's a little bit, I don't know.
That actually, you know, I used to have an HKS pipe in that exact location, and like I had it painted in a certain way, and it was really beautiful right there. Oop, bug. Sorry. You know, that's actually a pretty good idea. You know,
we'll see what you come up with.
I'll consider it.
Okay, I'm gonna breeze through some more questions. So my brother asked if that's your favorite cup, and I'm pretty sure he's referring to. Let's see if I can find it. It's at the very beginning.
It's got to be the teacup.
It's totally the teacup.
It's totally the teacup.
There's coffee in it, by the way.
He's like, is that your favorite cup? And you want to know why he's asking this? It's because he's a BMW guy. He has like a 335 Xi, and he just bought another one because he's a glutton for punishment. And we always butt heads on this a little bit. So he was just having fun with that because he loved that you had a BMW cup in your hands.
Yeah. So the story behind that is, so I decided that I was going to wear that amazing shirt for the 890 episode. And Bogey's having a difficult time deciding what she was going to wear. And I was like, it would be really funny if you wore a BMW shirt. So she ended up going to the dealership and buying a BMW shirt to wear. Unfortunately, the only one available was white. And it's like, well, you're going to get filthy. And I think she actually stayed pretty clean. But while she was there, she saw that cup. And the morning that we were about to film that episode, she was like, hey, would it be okay if I like surprise you with a random like weird gift on set? And I was like sure. Like, I'm always down for like random surprises, sure. And then she pulled that out, and it was like sort of like a gag to like, you know, make fun of me, like, oh, the Supras BMW. Which of course, as you know, I have very strong opinions on that. But you know, I just rolled with it. I'm like, sweet. And actually, to be totally real though, it is an excellent camping mug. It is lightweight and it fits my backpacking bag really well. And recently I washed my camping cup, my little backpacking cup, in the dishwasher, and it ruined the finish. And so I actually needed one anyways. And then actually, I mean, I'm sure she spent a pretty penny on that, because it's like, you buy anything at the BMW dealership and like, what is their labor? $200 an hour? Like, I'm sure the I don't know what the cup was, but like I'm sure she spent good money. It's like a high quality cup. So yeah, I actually use it and I like it. Yeah. So is it my favorite? No, my favorite mug is one my husband got me that says on it, "My chickens think I'm amazing because my chickens think I'm amazing." So
well, there you have it, Dustin. Sorry, bud.
Yep. Okay, I got two questions that kind of roll into it. It's what's the main factor that led to your choice to become an auto technician after college? And the other one that kind of fits that is what was your inspiration to get into cars as a career?
Oh gosh. So
you were a gearhead from the time you were little, so.
Oh yeah, like totally. Like I just came out of the womb loving cars. I loved going fast. I always wanted to be the fastest no matter what. So always like fast cars fascinated me. But it actually like, I did some sort of project, you know, like I said, like my memory is not always the best. So like, you know, maybe I'm remembering a little bit differently than how it was, but like, you know, it was like either middle school or elementary school. I think it was middle school when like you do like a, what are you going to be when you grow up project. And, you know, I had some crazy ideas. Actually, my mom recently reminded me that not only did I want to be a mechanic, but I also was going to be a truck driver or a medium or a marine biologist. So I threw out the marine biologist idea after I realized that I got really seasick. So I'm like, well, can't do that. And well, like, with a medium, like you're kind of either gifted with that or not. And, you know, so I was down to two options basically. And it was actually like the love of wrenching was cemented by a crazy cross-country road trip that I took when I sort of like lost my shit in the middle of college. I had like a mini midlife, quarter life crisis in the middle of college, and I dropped all my classes. I ended up taking them all online, like as many as I could, because I didn't want to like lose my scholarships or my my financial aid. Like, you know, you drop out and you've got to like reapply. I'm like, you know. So
Right.
I ended up taking them online, but I ended up taking a cross-country road trip. And to make a long story short, in the middle of the road trip, I went to school in Boston, Massachusetts, or outside of Boston, and then I was road tripping across the country, and I found this this most amazing car I'd ever seen in my life, which at that time was a 1980 Volkswagen Rabbit diesel. And I sold my perfectly running, wonderful little car to buy that pile of garbage. And that's it. At the super. Oh, there's Shay's car again. That was not when I first got it, though. That was after a lot of work. So that car has been through like 3 engines now and 4 transmissions. It was a total pile of garbage. Like the car was just awful. It had been sitting behind a barn for like 8 years. I paid way too much money for it. And I drove across the country and I barely made it. Oh, nice. Yeah, I wish I had that sort of service. All I got is the water right now.
That was my wife. She came in, figured I needed one. I didn't even open the last one.
I thought she'd be throwing it at your head because I just realized we've been going for an hour and 40 minutes.
No.
I know.
I thought we were like an hour 10.
I'm not
gonna
last
lie. I was like, we're a little over an hour right now. Whoops.
Yeah. Oh my God. No. I'll answer this question, then we should probably wrap it up, I suppose. But yeah, I fell in love with that car. I had to have it, and somehow miraculously made it back across the country. And the engine blew up like pretty much right at my mother's doorstep, and I was coming back to like grab the stuff I put in storage at her house to go back to college. So I say engine blew up, like it totally rod knocked, but you know, it was diesel, so you can't really tell the difference between like just a loud diesel in the middle of winter and not. So, you know, I drove it around for a little bit longer, and it puffed terrible smoke. And because there are not a lot of Mark I Volkswagen Rabbits in the New England area, I was spotted by a Volkswagen Club member and was invited out to a Volkswagen Club meet. And I was like, well, why not? I have no friends anyway. No one likes me at school. So I went to this Volkswagen Club meet, and I met Jesse, who is my first mentor, owner of Bantworks in Providence, Rhode Island. And I told him just how much I love this car, and you know that the engine was garbage. I was trying to figure out what to do with it, but I had to finish up school first. And he was like the first person in my life to like really take me seriously with my desire to learn how to work on the car and rebuild it myself. And so he offered me basically a space in his shop to pull the engine out and rebuild it in the corner in exchange for helping out. I swept the floors. I emptied the oil change containers. Like I took apart junk cars and sold the parts on eBay, and and just like did all this like stuff that no one really wants to do in the shop. Clean the rags, wiped off tools, put things away, organized shelves. And at the time, actually, and I worked with him for a couple of years, and through the rest of my college, and then even when I got my first job as a therapist. And at that point, I had gotten a job as a therapist before I even graduated college. I was making $75 an hour, which is still more to this day than I've ever made anywhere else at any other job. And it's just in my mind, I thought I had done the right thing, and I thought I had made it by having this career for myself. That was the right thing to do. And it was actually my mom who really pointed out to me, who actually, I don't want to say gave me permission, because I don't know, I'm not I'm not
you felt like you needed it subconsciously. I completely get it.
Yeah.
Subconsciously, you needed permission to do your own thing and not do what you kind of felt your parents wanted.
Exactly, 100%. That's what she said to me. She called me up on the phone. She asked me if I was happy, and I lied to her. I said that I was yeah, I've made it. And she's like, no. Are you happy? And I was like, yeah, sure. And she's like, well, I've never heard you with that same enthusiasm that you had as a child with any of this other stuff, except for when you're telling me the next thing that you're going to do to your car, and the next thing you're excited to learn about your car, and the pictures you share of your car. And she's like, you know what? No one is going to be disappointed in you. She's like, you have nothing. You've got your degree. No one's ever going to take that away from you. You have nothing to prove to anyone anymore. You can do what you want to do.
Huge.
She gave me permission, and it's I know I look like kind of a rebel, but I needed my mom to tell me that it was okay. And a week later, I quit my job as a therapist, and I worked with Jesse full time. And then I worked at an automotive machine shop, once again, sweeping floors and cleaning out the freaking, parts washer. But, it was hard because at that point I had spent all this money on school. I had just got a great, good paying job. It's I got to pay off all these loans now.
Yeah.
And then after all that, to start all the way back again at the very beginning, at the bottom, cleaning out the toilet, it was, but it felt right. I knew it was right.
But
and
at the same time, you felt I went and got a degree, I did all this, I spent all this money, but it's you don't realize till later that was early in your life. You have time to fuck things up at that point still.
Absolutely.
And get back on track, and you could change direction again if you wanted to. And it's so many people are wrapped up in they care what their parents think or what they're going to say if they go do what they really want to do, or other people that they don't even like half the time that watch them on social media. They worry about that instead of just doing what you want to do. And everyone's going to support you if you work your ass off and you make it, even if it's on something no one thought was going to work. So at the end of the day, just do what makes you happy. And if you have to, go fall back on a regular job.
It's so true.
And that being said, the focus on making you happy. And I've had this conversation with a lot of people that, I've sort of inspired to start, their own journey in automotive. I always tell them welcome home. Now, this is what you want to do. Welcome home. That does not mean that this is going to be easy, because for me, this has been the hardest job I've ever had. School came easy to me, easy. Being a therapist, I was told I was very, very good at it. And I guess it came ezy to me. I was able to sort of bullshit my way through it, I guess. That's a terrible thing to say, but it's true. This job did not come easy to me at all. I really, really struggled learning those things, because there are some people that grew up in the shop and they've already stripped those bolts. They've already learned what a Torx, they've already learned how to use these tools. And 2007, I bought my first, I held my first wrench, and I bought, I was still learning what a 10 millimeter socket even was, not just barely 10 years ago. It's and it was the hardest thing. I've had so many nights where just thought I was a total failure, cried myself to sleep. What am I doing with my life? But that's where the psychology comes in, because just because you fail at something does not mean you're a freaking failure. It just means that the job is freaking hard, and the job is hard, and you've just got to learn how to do it better, and you've got to pick yourself up, and you got to keep on doing it. My friend Danny is a machinist, as you know. He's dyslexic. He gets his numbers mixed up all the time. He's got to write everything down. And he could have a million times told himself that he didn't belong in that job, because it's all numbers. But instead, he says, nope, I am proof that anyone can do it. I just have to work a little harder at it. I've got to make ways for myself to make sure I don't mess up. And the same is true for me. there are some things that I'm better at than some people, and there's some things that I'm much worse at than some people. And I've got a lot of up to do in this industry. That does not mean that I'm dumb. It does not mean that I don't belong here. But it does mean that because I know I belong here, that I'm willing to put the work in, and that I'm willing to keep on going, and then I'm willing to like face the adversity and like not give up. That's like, I think what if everyone like felt that passion in their job, and it's like not let like life get them down, or like other people convince that they didn't belong, then probably people would do like, you know, a lot better. But I feel like for millennials and Gen Z, like we got it hard because we didn't learn the same lessons about the importance of failure as our parents' generation, and even more important, our grandparents' generation. They had that hard work ethic. You know, things were just different then, and I feel like they've sort of softened over time and passed on to this life of like instant gratification, fast food, instant message, you know, boom, I've got this right away, I order it on Amazon and it comes tomorrow. It's like people forget that, like, you know, I am by no means a master at my work. And like, you know, like I was telling you, Ryan, like this is my first time rebuilding a power steering rack, and I guarantee you I did something wrong. You know, I'm not gonna do it for a customer because that's a true mechanic, but I'm doing it for myself. It's like we are always improving ourselves and learning things, and we are also always failing. But that's the way that you're going to learn things. You're not going to learn something by like, oops, making a little mistake and like, it's okay, mommy's going to buy it for you. It's like, no, you learn it hard, you fail, you go home and like you beat yourself up about it, then you like overcome that feeling, sit in it, deal with it, overcome, and then go back and like learn the lesson better. It's like that is the beauty of like this industry. So welcome home.
I also think like to your millennial point, a lot of people are like, I'm a millennial, and for the longest time, there's a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm not a millennial. I'm not associated with all that thing. But if you really look under the hood, like the stereotypical stuff that millennials get a bad rap for. Granted, I will say there's some millennials who it's like, oh, I want to do a job I love, and I want to get paid a ton of money, and I don't want to work for it. Okay, that doesn't happen. That's not real life. That's Instagram. But there's also a flip side of where you have like an older generation who's saying, I just can't work with millennials because they just don't want to do the things I want them to do, or they don't respond. And a lot of the times, if you like look under the hood, it's not that they don't want to put in the work or they don't want to do this. It's that they would rather do fulfilling work than get paid a lot of money, or like just because they respond to different gratifications than you wanted. Like it's not about money for them. They would rather do something they enjoy. And make less money. Like there's just a flip on that, or I don't know. It's
fulfilling. No, I like where you're going with fulfilling, because I feel like there is this overemphasis nowadays on doing something that is meaningful and makes you happy. But like, you know, and that's sort of how I came here, right? Is my mom asking me, am I happy? But every single day that I go to the shop, I'm not necessarily happy. Like some days I'm like, oh, crap, I don't want to deal with that.
It's not all sunshine and rainbows.
No, absolutely not. But then also like the fulfillment part. So if you have like a week of work where like the whole week was crappy, it doesn't mean your job sucks. It might mean that was just a crappy week, you know?
Right.
But also like the fulfillment, like that is, and pride in your work. I think that is also something that has changed with the millennial generation, where they feel like, you know, at the end of the day, like their work or something, like they have to be like making this massive difference in the world, and like it's got to be, you know, contributing to world peace, or like they've got to be able to like post a picture of this perfect thing that they've created at the end of their workday on Instagram. And it's like, well, you could also just find fulfillment in like being the best at what you do. Like my mom used to tell me, and still does, like whatever you do, be the best at it. So like if you tell me you want to be a garbage man, garbage woman, be the best one. I'm so proud of you. But you've got to make sure that you're the best at it, and that you take pride in your work, and that, you know, and actually I have a friend who is the best garbage man that I know, and takes excellent, you know, and takes pride in it, and loves being in the union, loves working for the town, and like, yes, you are contributing, like, and you are like, you're perfect. Like that is like, that's that sense of like fulfillment, personal fulfillment, that like, we're not always looking for like this existential, like this epic meaning, because they're never going to give that. It's like an intrinsic thing.
And it comes from different places, like for everybody. And I think that's what millennials realize is like, I have a thing, and that's what it is for me. Like in some people, it's money. Like pay me more and I'm happy. Like I will work my ass off if you're going to pay me well. And that used to be a lot of other generations. Like, and people would get frustrated with millennials because they're like, I want to throw more money at them. And they're like, no, I don't want to work more hours. Because you also have some people who they're fulfilled by outside of work. Like they want to figure out how to work 20 hours a week and not make anything, but it's enough for them to live on, and they're so fucking happy. and that's all they need. And like the certain generations don't, like other people just can't comprehend that. They're like, well, why don't you want more money? And that person just doesn't. Or it's like you said, you're not happy every day going in and wrenching. I mean, I've thrown a lot of tools in my day, but I still go back and work on cars. It's the thing that you like get up in the morning and you want to do it again, even though you had a bad and really frustrating day. And that's the difference.
Yeah. And you know, fulfillment and pride in what you do, like I think really helps as well. Like at the end of the day, I'm like really proud of the choices that I've made. I'm really proud to be like, you know, blue collar worker. I'm really proud to work in this industry. I'm really proud to work with my hands. Those are things that just like, you know, I don't know, like I'm just, I like. When I think about them, you know, I wake up each day, I'm like, I'm stoked to meet this day with my best. And, you know, sometimes that's fulfilling enough, even if the customers suck or the job sucks.
Right. Yep. It's not always easy.
We've been going for like 2 hours now. This is insane.
Dude, it's bad. We should probably wrap. But okay, I got a really technical one. We got one on yours.
Oh.
Let's do this one first. Any tips on jacking up a Supra high enough to remove the transmission without a lift?
Yes, actually, I'm going to do a video on that. I've got these quick jacks.
So we're just going to answer that by saying go watch Faye's video when it comes out.
Oh, I haven't made it yet. Yeah. But honestly, like I got these quick jacks. They're kind of a big investment up front, but man, they're so helpful, and they've got really low clear. Like my Supra is so freaking low, and they fit underneath. They're awesome.
Well, they're amazing because they like pivot. They like pivot up so they can lay super flat.
Yeah.
So I would say, I would agree. Like if you can't afford a full lift, that's money to have one of those. There it is.
Yeah, Supra's on them right now, and
so useful. If you're ultra budget, I mean, even like car ramps or just jacking it up on jack stands. Honestly, you don't have to get the car very high to get the transmission out.
No, that is true.
You literally have to have it high enough to get under there to reach the bell housing bolts, and then you reach the top ones from the top with big ass extensions and some swivels. But the biggest thing is it's just got to be high. It's got to be high enough to get under there, but you want it low enough so you don't have to drop the trans a long ways, because you either have to figure out how to get a jack under it and like strap it to that jack, or you have to like muscle it onto your chest and hope you don't die.
Yeah, and also I use these little wheel dollies because I'm not that strong, and and then I actually like do it all pretty low, and I lift the car up after and then sneak it out.
No, that's a great way to do it. I like doing a W series is probably manageable, but being someone who has dropped an R series transmission on my chest and then immediately regretted that decision.
It's heavy.
Yeah, oh man, they're heavy. The wheel dollies are a great idea.
Yeah. I got some low clearance on. I got some AC Delco ones here that are pretty low clearance too. So like they add it's maybe like an inch and a half off the ground. So you don't have to jack the car up that much higher with them. But that's also assuming that you're not doing it on a bumpy surface. I hope not. Oh,
true. Yeah. If you're doing it in a driveway, man. Oh, bad news.
Bless your heart.
So we had, there goes my camera.
Oh, hi.
Hi,
Ryan.
It's telling us to, can you guys still hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's rebooting right now. Hold on.
Faye, I wanted to mention earlier when we were talking about your departure from your career you're supposed to have to where you find yourself today, is I hate this term because I think it's so overused and people don't use it properly, but it's really brave because people get so comfortable and just used to that lifestyle and accept it and aren't willing to take that leap of faith and follow their dreams. So I think that's really cool and I just learned that backstory today. So I was like, holy cow, that's amazing.
Well, I mean, also like at the time, consider that I was single, no kids, my rent was very cheap. So, I didn't have that weighing on me, and I don't take that for granted. It's like, now I have a house, now I have a husband, now I have chickens that I care deeply about, and care for their well-being. So, any major change that I make in my life would have a lot more weight to it. So that's also some of the beauty of like, making that change in my 20s was that I was a little bit more free to do so. But thank you. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, you bet.
Well, should we start wrapping up? I feel like we've gone forever. Oh, I do have one more question. What if you could electric swapped any Toyota? What would it be? Of course, not a Prius. They put that in parentheses.
Electric swap?
Yeah, so if you could do.
Does this person know that I absolutely despise electric cars? They probably do.
They must. I don't know.
I'm certain they do.
Oh my God. Oh man. Can I do I have to answer that question? I hate electric cars, you guys. I hate them.
I'm thinking of it, and I honestly can't think of anything that I would like. There's so many swaps I want to do, and that is not one of them.
Yeah. Okay. So I will say that my final job that I had before I left Portland was at a shop called Atomic Auto, and man, I loved that job. And it used to be an all Saab shop, working on like super freaking awesome, rad Saabs from like the late 80s, early 90s. And then, of course, Saab went under. They tried to work on the GM Saabs, but those Saabs went under, and then they were trying to like figure out how to rebrand. So like, we'll work on hybrids because it's Portland and all the hippies are moving in, and everyone's got Prius. So so the owner of the shop, Travis, who's like another one of my amazing mentors that I owe so much to. He was trying to get all the guys that were like used to working on like, you know, the cool old like 900 turbo like SPGs to like try to embrace, you know, the BMW i3 and the Chevy Spark and the Nissan Leaf. And he was like, how do I get these guys to want to work on these? And a bunch of people quit actually over it. They're like, yeah.
I was gonna say, how'd that work out?
So actually what he ended up doing was on an open track day at PIR, he had a bunch of friends, customers, rented some cars, and had all of us go and drive electric cars around PIR, the racetrack, in order to like fall in love with them and like learn the features, and like, you know, I don't know, just like experience them and learn to appreciate them. And I will say that, like, okay, first of all, I drove the Spark the first go round, and I won the first lap in the Spark. So I had a great experience with the Spark. And then of course, like, you race, and like halfway through, you got to go and charge all these things. And it's like, you fire up like the diesel powered generators. I'm like, all right, this is so green, you know, whatever. But like, and it was cool because like, there's something cool about going so fast silently, and all you hear is like wheeling. That was kind of cool. And then also like off the line, they're so freaking fast, like instant torque. You know, so like there were things I could appreciate about them. And then we also had a bunch of really cool electric swaps that we were doing. There was old Porsche that we were, which I you know, we took the air cooled engine out of and put batteries, you know, not my thing, but there were some cool projects that were happening in the shop. That being said, I freaking hate electric cars. I would never do an electric swap. I mean, well, I won't say never. I'm worried that someday, with the way that regulations are going, that while I do not think that they will come to each and every single one of our doors and take away our gas-powered vehicles, I do think that someday they will be taxed so highly. Gasoline and registration for gas-powered vehicles will be taxed so highly that we will not be able to afford to own or drive our classic cars anymore. And in that case, I still plan on driving my classic cars that I love. And so I may, at that point, sacrifice something and, you know, stick a stupid electric powered and stick an electric engine and something just so that I can enjoy driving that thing again, and not have to put it away permanently in my disgust over the tax and everything. But that's, I mean, I also might be stressing out about something that never happens. So that's a long answer to it.
I hear exactly what you're saying. I think it sums up the whole program perfectly. So recently I was looking for a new car. I kind of knew what I wanted, and we made this list, my wife and I, of everything it had to fit, right? And so we fit the bill. Then we started looking at cars, and I went and drove a Jeep Patriot. No offense to the Jeep Patriot, the most uninspiring thing I've ever been in. And all my friends made fun of me. My wife made fun of me. And I ended up with a four-door Wrangler on 35s that everyone loves and is amazing and is fun every time I get a 6-speed manual. I mean, it's awesome, right? So, and I didn't even know I was a Jeep person. It fit the bill. So we looked at one, you know, it's like, that's why I hear about the electric cars. That's why I didn't realize about all the projects we have is, yeah, they're fun. They're great, but they're really inspiring. There's something about our dumb 81 Corolla that is just the most fun, slow car you've ever driven. It is so fun. And then you get into, your guy's Supras, Ryan's a 2J Supra, and it just plants you, and you just realize, like, this is why we're doing this.
100%.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, there's like definitely. I mean, I'm excited to see what happens with some electric cars because I feel like the technology really appeals to Gen Z. So like, I imagine those people that are just like sort of nerdy engineering sort of types that like love technology. Like I can see like maybe them. I don't know. Like I can see some cool modifications that are going to happen for those cars in the future. But I'm just not stoked on them. Like, I don't have the heart and soul that I don't have the connection to them yet. I think they're kind of soulless and I hate them. But I don't know. I'll still remain open-minded. I might, maybe there's something that I'll like about them. But yeah, I don't know. It's not my thing. But I hear you on that.
I think the only place I could see swapping one, and it would be mostly just like to do it on YouTube or something, would be to build like just a stupid electric drag car. Cause like you said, instant torque, they're so fast. Or I've seen some drift car builds that were electric, and that would be kind of fun. Like build something where it's stupid and you don't really care about the car, but the electric thing works.
So you're saying B210, that's what I'm hearing.
Oh, yeah, we could put a Prius motor in that and turn it up.
Well, that's still
by the way,
internal combustion engine. Then you just gotta buy like a $2,500 battery.
That's true. They haven't wrecked enough Teslas. I don't know if we can get one cheap enough to pull the guts out of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, and also like I don't know. I mean, they don't even that's just like what a terrible business model. I mean, they can't even sell those things for like what they actually cost to produce. Like we as a taxpayer are like subsidizing those garbage.
I know. It's crazy.
I hate Tesla. And then like to defame like Nikola Tesla with that stupid oh my God. What a disgrace.
How do you really feel about Tesla?
Oh, all right.
So now it's electric motors and oil. Those are the things we avoid with Faye.
No, I mean oil's good. I love oil. I can talk about oil. I mean that's like a positive thing. Yeah.
Well, I just need things that get you going.
No, actually, a month before this live stream, I gave Ryan like this long list of like no-goes. I'm like, we cannot talk about this. We cannot talk about this. We cannot talk about this. And
did he follow?
What's that?
Did he follow? That's the question.
Oh yeah. Thankfully.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this would be a very weird conversation.
Yeah, we talk enough. I think I know you pretty well now, Faye. Like.
That's good. He steered in the right direction, so we're all good.
Good.
But,
well, we really do appreciate your support, and especially all the shout outs on the shirt. Ryan was so stoked when he got that message, and I don't even know how you found out about it, if it was just an Instagram post or whatnot. But
yeah, it was Instagram.
Awesome.
Yeah, I saw his story, so I was like, so first of all, Ryan makes fantastic videos. So like he was at Pacific Northwest Super Nationals. And I was like creeping his stories because I was like living vicariously through him. And I actually screenshotted his story and sent it to him like, how do I get the shirt? And I was wearing my hoodie earlier, but then I changed and put on this sweatshirt instead. And like, is that like wearing the band t-shirt to the concert? I'm like,
yeah.
I was like, I don't want to be that nerdy. I'll just wear my black zip-up hoodie. I love that shirt. It's my favorite. And now I have like 5 of them. And it's the shirt that I wear all the time. Not just because I'm fangirling out, which I do, but because it is actually my favorite shirt. So
I wasn't actually even gonna wear mine today, but I was wearing it because it's comfy. And then I had to go get food, and I was scrambling after we like did the test run through this morning or earlier, Faye, and like I finally was like, oh, I don't have time to change. I'm just gonna go sit down.
Perfect.
Oh, that's funny. I was in full dad attire, the polo from work, Zoom meetings, and all this stuff, and so I had to throw on a t-shirt.
I was working.
Yeah,
I could see that. Well, I will say it was amazing to see the shirt on TV. That was probably the coolest thing yet. Like,
that's awesome.
I gotta say, like, there's so many things when you start this, like, you always have these like big aspirations, but at the same time, like when it actually happens, the little things are the things that hit you. And so like the fact that, I mean, we've shipped these to a crazy amount of countries. Like, I think we're up to like 14 countries, Josh, that people have bought.
Whoa.
That's insane. Like they're paying astronomical because shipping sucks to go outside the US. So like shipping something to Australia, they're paying like $50 for a t-shirt. And I'm just like, it blows my mind that somebody wants our stuff bad enough to pay $50 for it, or like it's gone to like Estonia, and I was even like, where the hell is Estonia? I know I learned this in grade school, but I don't know. Just Denmark and Ireland and Canada, and
where is Estonia?
it's like in the Eastern Bloc.
Oh,
over there, like old USSR.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Oh, that is so rad.
So that, and then just seeing it on like TV on like Motor Trend was just so cool. And it was like,
oh,
it was cool.
And I thought it was so cool that you responded to my message and was like, I'm desperate to get one of these shirts. And you're like, I will. I mean, you overnighted it to me so that I could not only have it, but then like have the honor of like wearing it on the show. Like, I was moved. I was like, wow, I'm important enough to this random person. I know
Well, I don't think that. So like, I don't think you put together who I was with BoostRodeo, because I hadn't like done a lot of stuff on that either, because like we knew each other before. So like you follow my personal Instagram account, and we knew each other back in the forum days, but then we kind of hadn't talked in a while, and then I started BoostRodeo, and it was kind of just this business thing, and I didn't have my face all over it.
True that. I did not know who you were.
Yeah. Yep. And so I think when you messaged me, you were like, how do I get that shirt? And like we literally made them. I picked them up the Friday before we drove to Nationals, because I wanted to take them for those guys, because they all were like, hey, we want shirts.
Stopped at my house to pick some stuff up for Nationals and surprised me with a box on his backseat of his Supra full of shirts.
It was like we loaded that thing to the brim with like a tent and all the merch stuff. It was crazy. So yeah, you like saw it on the video or on the lives or whatever that weekend, and we hadn't even released the shirt on the website. Like it literally, I picked them up from my screen printer locally and drove the 6 hours to Vancouver to go to that meet. And so you literally
got messaged you. You happened to have a small, and then the next, like you shipped it out the next day. It got to my house on Saturday, and then I flew out to All Girls on Sunday. It was like, whoa!
Like, yeah. And you were like, and we're working on the Supra. Like you were so stoked. And I was like, that's perfect.
But yeah, at that point, you're right. I didn't put you with the car. I didn't know.
It's understandable. Okay, so to wrap up, I got a couple questions that I'm trying to ask every person. I think we already answered, like, what was your favorite experience along your, well, I guess in general, what was your most fun experience along the entire journey? I guess we said like Motor Trend wise was the first question. Is it different? You said the first edition was probably your like most memorable. Is there a different one that was like the most fun overall?
Like in my entire like automotive journey?
Yeah.
Oh shoot. Whoa.
You gotta prep for a question like that.
Yeah. Anything stand out?
Yeah. Well, like I just got this feeling in my gut that it was like, there's no better feeling than starting up an engine that you built for the first time and just like it firing and just like running like freaking sweet. Like, I don't know. There's no better feeling. So I will say the first time with the Rabbit, although I was really scared because like, I mean, then you break it in. I'm just like sitting there like revving it. It's like 2,500 RPM for like half an hour. Like,
it sounds like $5,000, but it's 2,500.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially that one's like clack, 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 clack. I'm like, is it dying? And then again with the Supra, even though the Supra was like an epic fail. I mean, I took the first drive and the cam gear flew right off in front of the dealership in Vancouver. But still, like, I mean, at that point when I first started up, like I was alone in the shop that I worked at, and it was this big building in Portland. It was like a historic Dodge dealership, the first Dodge dealership in Portland, like back in like the 70s or something like that, and then it was converted to Atomic Auto. It's like this big, like crazy metal galvanized roof, like domed. And I was working in there alone. And it was just me in the car. And I was terrified and I fired it up. And I mean, there's no better sound. I mean, I'm biased. But, like the 7M is best freaking sounding motor. I mean, inline 6 cylinders in general, I think just like have this really beautiful sound. But the 7M, and then also, I mean, my exhaust, I love it. But hearing it fire up and like that, like the first go round with the engine build with the Volkswagen, I had a lot. I mean, obviously, first time holding a wrench, Jesse really freaking held my hand, and made sure I did everything myself, but also like made sure I didn't fail. The Supra was like the first engine build that I did, like bearings to bushings to everything, that I didn't have someone holding my hand, and I felt like really like it was gonna fail. So I fired that thing up, and it like sounded really good. I drove around the block. There's no feeling like that. That's probably the best thing. I mean, I still think that building this car is like the best thing I've ever done for myself, for my career, and like for my soul. So probably that question.
Yeah, I'd 100% agree on the 7M sound. Like even having like a 2J car, like my 2J car is the one that gets all the attention, and it's way faster. All the things. The 7M just sounds so good. It honestly, in my book, it tops the 2J and the 1J. It's got a special sound. It's the stroke. It sounds throaty, but it's an inline six. And so, and when you rev them, they just sound so mean at high RPMs because they have that throatiness, but they're still revving pretty high. It's just good. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. So my second question was, who has been the most impactful person that you've met along your journey?
It's gotta be Jesse from Bandworks. I mean, if I hadn't mentioned, and and I have a lot of gratitude for like I said, I didn't go to automotive school. Like I've had mentors all along the way that I've pretty much apprenticed under that have taught me everything that I know. But if it was not for that first person that saw me and took me seriously and then gave me a chance and then was like kind to me, but also hard, like tough on me, taught me some lessons that, were, so there was some like tough, like, didn't baby me, like put me in the shop and treated me like, like a serious tech. If it wasn't for Desi, I don't think I would be here in the same way. So, Jesse's like one of those people that's like so freaking smart. He's a Volkswagen mechanic. And I also saw him go through the process of leaving the job that he was comfortable at and starting his own shop. And so he really set a good example for me on the very get-go of work ethic, organization, and like always bring your best, always bring your A game. So yeah, Jesse from Bandworks in Providence, Rhode Island.
That's amazing that you have that story about Jesse. And, with my daughters, I think of it as a woman in a man's environment, right? That took you seriously. But it's happened to me. It's happened to Ryan. When we're young and we're getting into our careers, it is very hard for someone to take you seriously. Like, it doesn't 100%. Matter if you're a guy or a gal. It's just
100%.
That's the way it is. And you really have to earn your keep and earn the respect. So to have someone do that early on is huge.
No, 100%. It's like, now I keep on thinking about it. I'm like, I need to get back. I need to have interns. And, it's just like working on the montage and like all of those brand new, like hobbyists, people that had, were learning what tools were for the first time. It's like, that's high risk. I don't want to pay for mistakes. Like, I don't want to, like, I got to focus on this job. I don't want to be babysitting you. They are high risk. They cost a lot of money because they're going to make that mistake. They're going to they're going to strip out they're going to forget to tighten their first lug nuts. They're going to forget to tighten their first drain plug. They're going to put that oil filter on wrong. They're going to destroy some engines. They're going to cost you a lot of money. Like, these things will happen. They'll happen to all of you if they haven't already. Like, and if they haven't,
there's a reason why Ryan's laughing so hard.
Yeah. Always tighten your lug nuts between every lap. Every time you come off track, boys. Just say we've been there.
We have a video of me breaking an axle. Culprit was loose lug nuts. Wheel fell off. It was bad.
Though we've all done it. But exactly to your point, it's like when you are green, you are so high liability to a shop owner, and you really do have to earn your keep. And the fact that like I had no background experience at all, and I was learning what all the names of the tools were. Like, it's
a huge leap.
Huge.
For
and a huge leap of faith that he had in me. So
yeah.
I mean, I owe him like everything still to this day. Like,
That's super cool because like I would assume most people would expect your answer to that question to be someone that's huge. Like they'd think, oh, it's Bogey, it's Christy Lee, it's meeting Brian, it's somebody from Motor Trend, like, but it's not. It's this small person who ran a Volkswagen shop that just gave you the first shot. So it's always like, it's interesting. It's those small people that give you these opportunities at the right time or just touch your path and change it that really have that impact.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you never know the impact that you are going to have on someone else just by like, you know, a little bit of faith in them, you know. And you know, they may totally screw you over and give them a little bit of faith, but yeah.
Ryan, what else do you have? I just realized it's like 10:30 at Faye's house.
Dude, I know. My last one was, what has been your biggest challenge, Faye? And that's it. And then we can wrap.
Getting out of my own way. Getting out of my own way in like so many ways. I mean, obviously starting my career in automotive and like, you know, needing that little push from my mom. But then also, you know, I feel like there are, I feel like there are very few ways in which men and women like face different adversity in automotive. And a lot of people like ask me that question, like, oh, it must have been so hard. At the beginning it was very hard, but now it's gotten easier. So I'd say that that like the biggest challenge has not been things out of my control, such as my height, my weight, or you know, or being a girl, but the mentality that I have about things. You know, a lot of times I've heard from like other women in the automotive industry, like, you know, they like we get in our own ways with like how harsh we are on our own selves and the standard that we hold ourselves to, and then also like that, you know, I mean, I guess this isn't like necessarily like just a female characteristic, but like, you know, we take things personally and like empaths and just like I don't know. So sometimes like I used to do things, I used to mess something up and I would be so hard on myself. I would get in my own way and not be able to move forward at all. And I'd say like learning to like, you know, handle my mistakes with grace and realize that like I'm not a failure, but like, you know, I just like I failed at something, but like, you know, I'm not a failure, like personally. Like I used to take a lot of things personally. And that has been like the hardest lesson to overcome, for sure. And at the beginning of my career, it was much bigger deal for me because I felt like I had an ego to overcome. Like I really felt like I was trying to prove something. So, you know, to myself, that I belonged, and then also to other people that had doubted me prior. So, you know, now it's not quite as big of a deal, and like I've learned to deal with it. But like that's getting out of my own way and not taking things personally, which is not like a mechanical thing at all. But
no, I think that's any car person. You have to be okay with making those mistakes, and it's tenfold if you're going to put yourself on YouTube doing it, because you're just, you know, thrusting yourself out there for the world to see every time you make a mistake, and they will call you on every single one of them.
Oh, they do. Oh man, I got those emails. All the things I could have done differently or better, and it's like I mean, still now, like I read them, I'm just like, oh, you're right. I forgot that. You know? I mean, even on my second most recent video about the seatbelt buzzer up to 2015, but only halfway through the 2015 model year. I didn't mention that. So if you have a halfway through like the later version of 2015 model year, it's not gonna work.
It's different.
Sorry. It's
How
still
could you?
2015, people. Whatever. Anyway, not 2015 and a half.
Those half years, they'll get you.
Ooh, yeah.
86.5.
89.5.
Yep. Well, Faye, we really, really appreciate you coming on. Like this, I was so excited for this one. And a lot of people were. They're like, you're having Faye on. We're so stoked. We can't wait to watch that.
Oh.
So you have a lot of fans. And honestly, like, I feel like we talk a lot now. Like we've been talking a lot the last few weeks, and you're one of my favorite people. Like really, like you're just such a genuine person. And I really appreciate like being friends just on that level. And I appreciate everything you're doing. Like, I mean, you're killing it.
Thank you so much. You're making me a little emotional. I was just talking about getting over my emotions, darn it.
Pulling you right back in.
That means a lot, especially since like, I don't know, that once I've put like two and two together and like realizing that we've actually known each other for a while, you know, that means even more, because you know, you'd see me when I was like, you know, nobody. I mean, somebody, but
when you were just a kid. We were all kids at that time.
I really appreciate that. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah. Well, we're super stoked to have you on. We really do appreciate it. We also appreciate our wives, because we've been doing this for, holy shit, 2.5 hours. Yeah, thank you for putting up with us. I'm hoping my wife forgives you, because now you and Kim are friends, evidently. And I joke with her that she steals all my car friends because like you and her message each other back and forth, and her and Shay message each other back and forth. So Faye, can you give her a shout out so she forgives me?
Oh my God, Kim, absolutely. I will so give her a shout out. And she also watches my videos and complimented Brandon on his being my buddy for my brake flush video and his amazing brake pedal pumping skills. So also, not only shout out to Kim, but also shout out to Brandon, who's watching right now, I'm sure, and has also been dealing with me being on this live stream for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, we appreciate you as well, Brandon.
You are amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, well, I think that's it. And we really, really appreciate all the questions and comments. Like, we had a ton of engagement in this. I'm going to have to go back and read the comments after the fact. And if I didn't reply to you, I'm going to do my best because it's just been flying. But
and I can't see them. So I'm sorry if you were asking me things that I couldn't see.
we tried to do our best to convey them and bring them up, guys, if you're in the comments. And we probably missed a few. There was a lot.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah,
oh my
this has been awesome. We appreciate you guys, and we're excited for the next BoostRodeo Live. Thank you again, Faye.
Thanks you.
Faye.
Thanks for
having me. Bye, everyone.